All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the. Look, I literally tried to straighten
Knew it.
myself up in the chair and
Knew
messed
it.
up. Chat, I told them that
I
I would screw
told him.
something up. I thought it was going to be a
I
sneeze, and
told him
nope.
he was going to screw it up
And it was actually
immediately.
this. It was this
You
armrest on this
managed
chair.
to do it
I'm
immediately.
gonna tell you, I'm
He
not
said it.
sponsored. I'm not sponsored by Secret Lab, and I do not promote their chairs. The armrests are terrible. Hey, everybody! Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another episode of Starjump Station. I am your host, Starjump Grim or Grim. With me, as always, is Ender, right to my right here, and then we have a special guest tonight, Griffin Gaming RPG from the Soul Citizens. Griff, how are you, man?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
Doing well, doing well. We've wanted to have you on the show for a long time. I know we've mentioned having you on, and we just sort of got set up on station to not. We just didn't have guests because we were so all over the place with our schedule. As I say, Starjump is the most inconsistent content creator in Star Citizen. We're proud of that label, and we've got to maintain it. So that means not having consistent days of streaming, and that's really hard to schedule guests when you do that.
Understand?
But it's great to have
Yep.
you on. Me and you have met at Equinox. We got to meet in person,
Yeah.
which was really exciting.
Yeah.
And I believe you got we gave you a Starjump coin, right? Starjump
Yes, you
challenge, if I can
did.
remember
Yes, you
correctly.
did. I
Yeah.
Yes.
mean, it was. I hate to say this, Ender, but soon as we arrived at Equinox, the first place I went to was right to Grim. I saw him and his team were at the table, and he came up from around the table. We gave each other a big hug. And it was just. I don't know. There's something about when you connect with people. A lot of
Oh,
times you
yeah.
hear voices or you see their faces on the screen, and then when you finally meet them, it's like this is him. It's really cool. So it was great.
Yeah.
And he was working, unfortunately, so I couldn't hang out with him, which I get. But it was still great to finally connect. And Ender, I got to do the same for you, man. We got to connect,
We
man. We got to
really
connect.
wanted Ender there. That sucked that he couldn't come. We had Bingo
Yeah.
and Art, who I see Art's in
Yep.
chat, probably Bingo as well, came out,
Yeah,
helped me
he's there.
man the booth, which was great. I think we had a pretty decent booth too. That was kind of our
It was
first
nice.
booth
Yeah.
for
Oh,
an
it
event.
was.
So yeah, it was our first
Yep.
one. So the next time we
I
do
wouldn't
one,
have known
hopefully
it.
it'll be better. So
It was cool.
yeah,
You guys had little nice things to give
Yeah.
away and
yeah,
everything. It was
we
very
did.
cool.
It went well.
Yeah, my
There's lots
first
of good
year,
people.
I was there the year before.
The year
Mhm.
before,
And
right?
our
Yeah.
booth was just us standing around with some
That's
posters.
true. Actually,
in
you're
a
right.
box.
You're right. We did have a booth. And we
You got
were
a mobile
kind of.
booth. It was a mobile booth. It was just a mobile booth.
It really
That's all.
was.
It
It really
was
was.
mobile.
And I love Shadowkin, and they put on a great event. But I will
It
say,
was
me and
great.
Ender's badges were wrong. It didn't say Starjump; it said Starship.
Starship
So
Ender and
so
Starship
Oh my
Starship
Grim
Ender,
God.
Starship Grim. We were
Yep.
laughing about that forever. So, but
the
anyways,
entire time.
yeah, thank you for being here. Obviously, Ender, thanks for being on as you always do, my awesome
Oh, yeah.
co-host. We have lots to talk about, everyone. Tonight's episode is going to be Capital Ships Revisited. If you watch the Starjump Shipyard episodes every Tuesday, you'll remember I just recently did an episode on the Endeavor and kind of looking at that through the lens of 1.0. It was a bit off the cuff.
Mhm.
I was just kind of winging it, but it kind of stirred up some thoughts in me that it'd be interesting to kind of go through the capital ships. And again, maybe another episode, we look at the large ships, another episode, smaller ships, but start with the capitals because they have the biggest financial footprint on people. And to me, that means people need all the information, good and bad, to make those decisions if they're going to pledge for that. So let's take a look at those capital ships through the new information we have on 1.0, because when we originally did the Starjump Station on capital ships with Jorun as our guest, that was almost 2.5 years ago or so, and we didn't have that 1.0 information. So I think we'll take a look at them. We'll see which ones maybe seem good as they are,
Yep.
which ones are woefully out of date and need major updates, both concept and flight ready. So we're going to go through all of that. If you have any questions, please put them in chat in brackets. We do not have a bot to pull them. I'm going to need to get Piggles or Execute or somebody to hand that over. But
That's
Ender's
me.
on it. Ender's going to be the human bot tonight and grab those if we can. Before we do that, though, I did want to do some top of show announcements. Obviously, please don't forget to follow us on all of our platforms. That includes Twitter or X, however you want to call it. We post a lot of our Starjump news over there, updates to Fleet Viewer, new episodes of stuff coming out, all that good stuff.
Mhm.
Make sure you go over to our YouTube if you're on the Twitch. Go over to YouTube, subscribe to us, hit the like button, all that kind of algorithmic stuff. We appreciate it. And then last but not least, follow me and Ender here on Twitch. We're coming up to some April, May, which you're going to see our faces a little bit more than maybe you're used to, which we're going to get to in just a minute. But before we do, I want to talk about a few things here. Well, actually, real quick, Griff, tell everyone where they can find you at, what you're known for. I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself here. For anyone that just is strangely
Sure.
does not know who you are, because I
Oh,
think
I'm
you're
sure.
very well known throughout the Star Citizen community.
I'm glad you feel that way. I appreciate that. But I am Griffin Gaming RPG. I'm one of the producers of the Soul Citizens. We've been around. We just celebrated our 5th-year anniversary week before last, so it's been 5 years for us. And we are basically a community-oriented and based stream team of about 10, 11 folk who come together each week to talk about what's happening in the Star Citizen community and the development of Star Citizen and Squadron 42. And just want to give a special shout out to the folks here at Starjump. We've been collaborator partners, patting each other on the backers, lifting each other uppers the
Yeah.
past few years, and it's always great when I get together with these folks because they've got good hearts and they care about the community, and it's an honor to be here with them tonight. So that's it. You can find us at Soul Citizens at any platform that's SOL as in the sun. Not the S out of Luck Citizens, but the soul like the sun. Okay, and you can find us on any of the platforms: Twitch, TikTok, Blue Sky. We're on all of them. Wherever you want to find us at.
Ender's shouting you out down there in chat. Obviously, go check out all their platforms. Lots of good content, and if you're like me and you like content on very specific aspects of Star Citizen, or sometimes niche topics, sometimes big topics, but things that aren't just rehashes of the weekly news, go to Soul Citizens. They really deep dive topics. I mean, again, some of your shows you did on industrial ships, for example, was some of my favorites. So I don't know if
Great shows.
So yeah, definitely check that out.
Mhm.
I wanted to highlight, since we're leading off from that, I wanted to highlight this next thing, which is Quantum Vegas 2955. Let's talk about that for a minute, actually.
Sure. Quantum Vegas 2955. This is our freshman effort. It is the idea is for us to have a community event that brings people from around the country, even from the globe. We have somebody who's coming from Germany, surprisingly enough. Folks will come around from around the country who want to come to Las Vegas to gather for a much more intimate setting, to meet with other community members and also members from the Star Citizen staff, or Star Citizen CIG staff, Cloud Imperium staff. We've got some special speakers from the community. We have Grim, in fact, is one of them. We'll have to get Ender in there at some point. But Grim is one of them. Also, Paul Shelley is one of our moderator speakers. We've got folks like Tyler Whitkin that are going to be there. Galactica, Sean Tracy is going to be there. And Serious Fun is one of our moderators. Nate Tronics, who's done the series from EE Studios, the Machinima series,
Great
is going to be
content.
there, and his I think her Kelly Ellis, I think it is Kelly,
Kim.
is our host. Kim
Yep.
Ellis, thank you, Kim Ellis is going to be our host, and so. It's going to be a great weekend, a full day starting from 9 a.m. all the way till 6 p.m. And there's going to be a Bar Citizen the day before. Bar Citizen International is sponsoring that in Las Vegas. So for basically what we're going to tell you is if you want to have a weekend in Vegas where you can come in on Thursday if you want to, or Friday, enjoy some time there, hang out with some citizens that Friday night, be with us all day Saturday, and then Sunday we're going to have a brunch afterward. And if folks want to hang out together, or if you want to go to the casino, or if you just want to sleep in, you can make a whole weekend out of it going to Vegas. So you can find it at quantumvegas.space. There's information there about the sessions. There's information about an awards ceremony that we're doing. We're going to be doing, I think, guys, this is I can announce it on your show because it has not been announced. I think we're doing the very first, it's going to be called the Quantum Vegas the QVM, the Quantum Vegas Machinima Awards, where we're going to recognize content creators in the community who have done hard work over the years from when this game was barely workable to today and produce great machinima for all of us to enjoy. We're going to be giving out awards for that also from 2016 all the way up till today. So yeah, a lot of stuff there. Check out the website when you get time. We're on social media as well. Feel free to follow us there too.
Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be a really cool event. I'm excited for it. There's a lot of great panels. You can go to the website. There's write-ups on all the panels. Obviously, caveat, some of those probably could possibly subject to change, as we get closer to the event and stuff. But as you'll see, the day is jam-packed. So whether you're there just to kind of hang out and meet and greet with people, or if you're actually interested in the panels and the events, there's tons of stuff from morning to night. So it's going to be really cool. And it's in Las Vegas. How much cooler can it be?
Not much.
Not much. That's about as cool as it gets. Next, I wanted to talk about, before we go into our main topic, and we are going to hop in to the main topic pretty quick here, everyone, because we obviously have quite a few capital ships to go through. But some big news we want to talk about, me and Ender. I'm going to let Ender kind of announcement. I'm going to put up the slide for it. It's really exciting. It's coming up. You've probably all heard us mention it a little bit, but Ender, take it away.
All right, guys. April 1st through May 31st, we are starting our official St. Jude Play Live push that we do every year. This year, we have so many raffle prizes that have been donated by the community, by people outside of the community. I'm going to just list off everything real quick.
Mm-hmm.
2 RSI Polaris Corvettes with LTI, an Origin 600i Explorer with LTI, Anvil Carrick, 3 Misc Fortunes, an Elgato 15-key Stream Deck, Anvil F7M Super Hornet, Nomad Lovestruck Starter Pack, Cutter Red Festival Starter Pack, Drake Buccaneer, Anvil Hawk, Anvil Hurricane, Aegis Gladius Valiant, Starjump Challenge coins, and I believe patches as well.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I forgot to put that on there. Yes, we got Starjump patches, courtesy of Angry PC Tech. Well, courtesy of Starjump, but he is making them.
Angry PC Tech.
Yes.
You can find those giveaways through Starjump Guardians for St. Jude, April 1st through May 31st. 16 raffle prizes, including ship, Stream Deck, challenge coins, and more.
Mm-hmm.
Twitch.tv, Starjump Ender, Twitch.tv, Starjump Grim, YouTube.com, Starjump Grim. And in April, we are going to be finally revealing Academy that we've been talking about for a while. That'll be coming out shortly. Our goal this year is $8,557. That will push us to $25,000 total raised for St. Jude in 3 years.
Which is incredible.
I think we can do it with this incredible gift that we have received from the community. Now, wait a minute. Bingo. The Buck, Hawk, and Hurricane were mentioned already, and Gladius were mentioned already. Oh, Buck, Hawk, Hurricane, and Gladius are LTI as well.
Yeah.
We will put that on there. Thank you, Bingo.
Yeah. Some of those I thought possibly were, and I was going to put that on this thing, Bingo, but I wasn't 100%
the Nomad and
sure.
Cutter probably are too.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure, and I wanted to confirm it first. But
now, I will be going to St. Jude. I'm going to be doing a lot of video recording and stuff. I'm going to be making a video. But that said, we are so good on giveaways. We do not need any more giveaways. So anybody that wants to attempt to donate for a giveaway, please do me a favor. Hold on to that. We will be putting out either a link or a QR code. We'll have both. On April 1st. Take that money, donate it to St. Jude, give it to the kids. Mm-hmm. We only want money for the kids from now on. Our goal is to make as much money for children to help try to get rid of cancer for these kids. Let's make money for kids now. That's the goal. How many more days? Let's see. There are how many days in this month? 31.
31.
So
we don't have much.
16 17 more days.
Left. So I know I'm really excited and appreciate Ender letting me get involved heavily this year. He's shouldered a lot on the past few years, kind of taking it all on, and even when he was dealing with a lot of stuff sometimes in the past, taking it on. So I appreciate him letting me have a big role in it this year.
This year you're helping me because my graphics card is trying to melt and you are helping me save it.
And so what that ultimately means, though, and you'll see there at the bottom of the page, you're going to find St. Jude related Starjump content on all three of
Yep.
our platforms. It'll be on Ender's
Everywhere.
Twitch, my Twitch, and our YouTube. Okay. And the YouTube includes our basic Starjump channel, which has stuff on it, but also our Starjump Academy channel, which is a secondary channel we have, which is primarily geared for new players. Something Ender's been heading up. So you're going to see the St. Jude stuff throughout all of that. Like Ender said, a ton of raffle prizes here. There's also probably going to be some surprise free giveaways that pop up during the event as well. But also, once we get into it, we're going to properly highlight and thank our donators who have donated so many great things. There also may be some other fun surprises too. For example, chances to win custom liveries and Starjump Fleet Viewer, and some other fun stuff. So this is coming up. You're going to hear us talking about it a lot more. We have been working quite a bit on it in the background, actually. I know some people have been pretty chomping at the bit to get more information on what we were planning, what was going to happen this year. What I can say, though, for any of you that are in chat that are fans of our long dormant show, Fleet Builders, where we do a live sort of versus build in Fleet Builders, me and Ender, or in Fleet Viewer, we're bringing it back.
We're reviving it, and it's coming back.
We promise it's coming.
And it's not just coming back for once. We're reviving it, and it's coming back for good.
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for that one. Actually, that's our most requested thing. So we are going to do it. They're kind of tricky sometimes to do, but we're going to do it, and we got, I think, some cool stuff we can do along with that. But again, it's going to be busy. So last thing I'll say about it. Our regularly scheduled shows, as you know, like Shipyard and Starjump Stations, those will still be happening throughout April and May. Those will all be St. Jude Play Live themed as well. We'll be doing giveaways on there as well, raffles, all that kind of stuff. So pretty much any Starjump content, stream, show, whatever it is, will be tied in with the event for April and May. So hopefully that's clear. You will find the QR code that Ender's talking about. You're going to find that peppered everywhere. You're going to see it on his channel. You're going to see it on my channel. You'll see it on the YouTube channel. It's all the same QR code. It all leads to the same Tiltify link where that you'll be able to donate to. Okay. And again, we'll get more informative on this as we get closer to the event. All right. Are we good? I think we're good.
We're good. Oh, D&D is coming back too. I'll be doing D&D weekly. All right, that's it. We're good.
There we go.
Oh, really? We may have to talk. We may have to talk.
Griff's like, we got to talk.
I've been wanting to get back into it, dude. Oh yeah.
Okay. Tuesdays. We can take on one more. Tuesdays.
Oh,
there you go.
Lord. Oh boy. Okay.
All right. Let's get to it, everybody. We got a lot to cover here. Thank you, everyone. Oh, actually, no. We got to stop. What am I doing? What am I talking about? I know. We still have one other thing to talk about. Everyone, there's a giveaway going on right now.
I was going to say, did you talk about a giveaway?
I know. It's for a Cutter Red Festival starter pack. It is currently live on both Twitch, and all you got to do on Twitch is do !ticket or !tickets space max to get in on that. I'm sure Ender will repeat that for me. No S.
!ticket space max.
Thank
everyone.
You.
No
Appreciate
S.
That.
Grim's trying to fuck everybody up. I'll be the only one entered.
I am.
Actually, S. There's an S, everyone. Tickets max. There's that.
Oh, my God.
I'm kidding. No S, guys. No S.
If you are on YouTube and you're wondering, can I be part of this giveaway as well? Yes, you can. And here's how it's going to work. There is a link pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. That takes you to our previous Starjump Station episode with Jor Run on capital ships. You're going to go there and leave a comment. You can just say anything. Hi, goodbye, hello, you're handsome. Whatever you want to put on there, just place a comment. And here's how we're going to do it. The winner through Stream Elements, through Twitch, whoever that winner is, and whoever the random comment picker we pull from the YouTube comments for today, it doesn't count any of past comments, just comments left today. Those two people will get put in the random wheel of names. We'll spin it, and whoever wins will get the Cutter Red Festival starter pack. That's the only way I've been able to find to do contests for both YouTube and Twitch. If there's a better way, hopefully someone will tell me. Thank you for the follow, in Snurder. Appreciate it. Hopefully I got that right. Sometimes these names. Thank you very much for that follow. I appreciate you. All right. let's get into it now. Let's get into it now. And again, we'll talk more about the giveaway at several points during the show, and we'll do the giveaway at the end. You do have to be on and watching to win. Okay, you do have to be on and watching to win. Yes, you can enter on both YouTube and Twitch, though. Just heads up. All right, let's talk capital ships for a minute. Okay, this is kind of a big topic. But something drastic. Thank you for that subscription. Appreciate it. Send in the Kraken overhead. Capital ships. We're going to look at capital ships through the lens of Star Citizen 1.0. Like I said, we're going to go through all the ships that are either definitely capital or kind of skirting the edge, but probably are considered capitals. A good example of that would be the Reclaimer. Okay. It is a finite list here, though. I think one of the important things to know, though, that we just got actually going to have to interrupt myself.
Thank you for the subscriptions gifted.
Thank you very much.
OX Def, thank you for the gifted
subscriptions. OX Def, thank you very much. That's legendary of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
The Kraken's just is right on theme here with the capital ship talk here. The Kraken's just flying over.
Oh, Grim, I gotta get me some Kraken. I gotta get me some ship flyovers for sure.
Yes, so working on them. They're almost done. So talking. Thorn, hello, and thank you again for those gifted subs. Really appreciate it. I think before we kind of go through the capitals, we need to define what a capital ship is, because I absolutely know I'm going to get some messages that say, well, what about this ship? What about that ship? I heard John Crew call the Perseus a capital ship and stuff like that. And you wouldn't be wrong. The definition is a little bit vague sometimes, but I think we have a clear understanding of what it is. Okay. So there are ship sizes. They go from size 1 to size 6. Okay. Size 1 is a snub, size 2 is a small, size 3 is a medium, size 4 is a large, but a large that is about up to 88 meters long. And then there's size 5 large that is up to about 128 meters long. So there's sort of two categories of large ships. And then there's size 6, which is capital. Okay. This is directly correlated to landing pad size. Okay. So you hear CIG talk about that a lot, hangar size or landing pad size. This is what they're talking about, size 1 through 6. Okay. Again, two sizes of large, because there's Connie large and then there's Carrack large, two different types of large. Okay. What is an example of a large ship? Large ship, as I said, is anything like a Nautilus, a Carrack, an Arastra, Galaxy, Ironclad. Any of that is definitely a large ship. Liberator, okay? Those are large ships. They all go up to about 125, 126 meters roughly, okay, on the largest side of that. A capital, the way I define that, is anything that is about 140 meters and bigger, okay? So this would be considered a size 6 ship, a capital ship, okay? This is what, if you're flying one and you call your hangar, they're going to put you in the extra large hangars, okay? Currently, there are only 2 capital ships in the game, the 890 Jump and the Polaris, okay? A capital ship, to me, though, is defined that way primarily by its components, okay? It has capital components, and of course its size is of that of a size 6 ship. So sort of two things that are in play there, but the capital component thing is pretty important, because one thing we have seen CIG do with reconcepting of some of these old ships is bring all those components up to size, or sorry, bring all those components up to capital size. Okay, so there we go. And there, I saw that DM you just sent me. We can definitely show that at the end if you'd like. Okay, so now that we've sort of defined what is large, what is capital, you can see this image here. There are a lot of ships in Star Citizen, okay? I forget what the current count is, but there's a lot. And remember, this is just what is kind of player ownable. There's a lot of ships that are not player ownable, such as the Bengal and its variants. All the ships that are in Squadron 42, which are not just UEE ships and Vandal ships, but there's also other ships in Squadron 42 that are not currently player ownable. Those come in the form of customized ships we know of, but they're customized within Squadron. There's also big industrial ships that we have, alien ships, all that kind of stuff. Suffice it to say, there's a ton of ships. But what we're going to be focusing on today are the player ownable capital ships. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start with this one right out the gate. I'm going to go ahead and put this video up. Let me swing it over, and this will kind of be what plays while we're talking through. We're going to talk about this ship, the Pioneer. Okay. Why are we starting on the Pioneer? We're starting on the Pioneer because it's really kind of the best example that we have of a ship that was kind of an old concept being updated for Star Citizen 1.0. CIG has now done that process with this ship. They announced that at last CitizenCon. And for any of you Pioneer fans out there that were really excited about what the ship was, I think you'll agree with me that it is much different now, right? The Pioneer is much, much different now. So it is a fabrication base building ship, and is kind of been called essentially a mobile base, a mobile home that you can take anywhere. CIG has called it this as well. So I'll open this up, obviously, to Griff and Ender. Feel free to speak on this. But with this one, I don't think we need to so much think about what CIG needs to possibly change, but how do we feel about the changes they made to this ship in light of the gameplay we're going to be getting? Who wants to go first?
Chef's kiss. It's perfection. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead, Griff.
No, I was going to say, I've always wondered where they would go with the Pioneer from the earlier design docs and some of the earlier videos where they talked about it being kind of like an easy bake oven kind of thing in the early days, and they really just associated it to it basically making like these prefabs, or maybe we just assumed it was the prefabbed kind of buildings that would get placed for bases. But the fact that they've expanded it into literally a manufacturing platform has always been something I was curious about. If you guys may remember, several years ago, they did this big layout with showing all the different items that we would be able to, well, the assumption was that as we built bases, we'd be able to put down solar panels, generators, things of that nature. And they made a reference to the fact that there would be things that you could build and things that you could purchase and have delivered. And so I always wondered whether or not that build or create or craft would come in some form. I was surprised to see that they expanded this to be the birthplace, though, of even space stations. That caught me off guard a little bit. I think I kept thinking of everything in relation to planetary building, but realizing that they've expanded this from, and again, but I don't know if maybe they'll come up with some other things, but there's things like furniture. There's all types of things that could be manufactured, and the question is, how far will this ship go? And of course, that would increase the value and the relevancy of this ship, because back in the day, you figure, well, once you've built somebody's base, what do you do with it from there, right?
Right.
But if you're able to do all these other things with it, man, this thing makes it a formidable. For a person who's just into crafting, if nothing else, and likes to build things, this can be not only their home, but it could be their career and something that they do quite frequently, not just because somebody's base gets blown up, but because people need other things. We saw ships. There's all types of things that, they're saying that this thing might be able to do.
Yeah. I think that obviously it was a pretty radical departure, and I think that this was a good example of CIG looking at where the game was going and saying, okay, we need to make some serious changes. We understand people may not love this change because you're never going to make everyone happy. And I think there was some people, I think we definitely had some even in the Starjump community, that really liked the original concept of the ship folding open and turning into a giant factory and all that stuff. And when but even way back when, I constantly was thinking, it's like, how is this thing going to actually work? I can't find enough space to land a Corsair cleanly on a planet. Like, I can't find enough flat ground to do that. How are you landing this 200 plus meter ship where an arm folds out and all this? And I used to say, Ender may remember, but I used to say this thing needs to hover above the ground. There's no
Yep.
way this thing's going to be able to
Quite a bit.
land and build. Um, and so to me, what they've done is they've turned it into something that's actually going to be useful. Did it lose a little bit of its cool factor in not transforming into a giant factory? Yeah, it did. It's the silhouette changing, I think, would have been cool. I'm gonna go ahead and tell all of you this. I think CAG is moving away from ships that radically transform their shape. We'll get more to that later. But I think that they just looked at what was needed, and ultimately this thing, they kind of, I think they came to the conclusion, okay, this ship's going to deploy drones, and the drones are going to build the bases. And then they recognized that that was going to be kind of boring and really take away from this ship. So then they got to work and they said, well, what can we add to this thing that'll really plus it up? So we got the 4 fabrication models, and 4 is a lot, right? We
Yeah.
got the internal fabrication hangar that goes up to small ships. So that'll be your size 2. It's essentially a size 2 fabrication hangar. I think it can
Right.
craft up to like a nomad size ship. So anything that's like 32 meters long at maximum. That's still pretty big. Those of you hoping to build a Cutlass Black in it, you're not going to be able to do that. It's not big enough. But you're going to be able to build almost any ground vehicle, pretty much any ground vehicle, and a lot of ships, right? All in here. You have resource extractors in the landing gears now, which is also a really cool addition. That is something
Yep.
that we've
Yeah.
never seen before. The hangar
Super
now,
cool addition.
the landing
Mhm.
pad now is no longer just a static pad on top. It actually goes into the ship and turns into an internal hangar. Really cool. So I do think CIG made an effort here. Again, not to say that they're going to make everyone happy, but I think they made an effort here to say, this is a radical change. So we're going to put a little bit extra into it to try to make up for that.
Sure.
I think if it's a matter of me picking between expanded purpose in the universe
Mhm.
versus transformer, I'll take the expanded in the universe over that any day. Do you guys think that maybe, just maybe, I've been trying to connect the
Mhm.
dots and read the tea leaves. You know, this whole thing with them coming out with the Anvil series of Mark 1 and Mark 2.
Yeah.
And the fact that, do you think that this is one of the reasons why they're doing this, so that when we start getting into blueprinting and building ships, things like the Mark 1 will be the things that we can produce? And sense of getting blueprints and stuff, because they're not going to sell it anymore, but it's
I,
still viable in the universe.
Absolutely.
I think
I don't
so.
see why you wouldn't be able
And
to.
I really hope they do.
Yeah. I don't see a reason not to be able to do that.
Mhm.
It doesn't make sense to just not have that. And it would be a nice little,
Yeah.
addition that you
And
would be able to find and get.
and we're going to need those unique grinds. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that would be a
Yeah.
great unique grind to get those blueprints. You know what I mean? Something that you can't just, for example, go on the pledge store and buy for $100 or whatever. Having some
Right.
unique stuff that you do have to grind the blueprints for, I think would be really cool. I think we'll see that in the case of some of the squadron stuff, for example.
Oh yeah.
I think some of the
Mm.
Van Duel ships, you will
Mm.
probably be able to go on a pretty epic grind through one of those guilds in game and get the blueprints to Vandal ships possibly, right? I think certain things are going to be harder than others, but I think some rare ships would be really cool. I would even go so far as to say, now there may be legal contractual reasons why they couldn't do this, but I still think it would be cool if CIG allowed you to, maybe they're extremely rare drop rates or extremely long grinds, but be able to get like the blueprints for a Saber Raven or whatever. You know what I mean? And open up some of the ships that are really difficult to get. That the Star Kitten Dragonfly. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Stuff like that. So we'll see. Um, we're gonna keep moving along though because we have a lot of ships to get through. So we're
Can I
gonna go
ask
to
a
the
quick question
yeah. Go ahead.
on the Pioneer? What is it? Do we know what the new length and dimensions on the ship will be
We
versus
do.
the old?
We do, and I can actually bring those up right now. So, one thing I will point out is that on Fleet Viewer, if anyone goes there, you will notice that I changed the length of the Pioneer to match the new length of the Pioneer, which is 247 meters long. Which that is a
Wow.
big ship, everyone.
Yeah.
And I'll put that up here. Let me. Has this got the measurements? Stand by. Let me pop that
Being
up.
an Origin man that I am, what
Yeah.
is the difference in size between an 890 and that? That'll be a good perspective for people to
this
compare against.
yeah, so this is a good. This is like a Valkyrie longer than an 890 jump.
Mm,
It's about a
that's a good
Valkyrie longer. Yeah.
size. That's a good size.
So
Wow.
247 meters long, 133 meters wide. Really wide ship, by the
Wow.
way. 200 or in 53 meters tall. So it's about
Oh,
it's like a
jeez.
Connie tall.
A
So
big apartment building.
yeah, it's really big. So one thing to know is that the Pioneer and Fleet Viewer, I did scale it up to 247 meters long, but it is still the old model. And the easy way you can tell between the old and the new model of the Pioneer is there's a lot of differences, but these front VTOLs on the new concept model, there's two of them up front, and on the original concept, there's one up front. So you can see that. Let me go back to our rotating video here. You can see that here on the front of this one, there's only one VTOL. On the new concept, there's two. It's just a quick way to kind of see. There are a lot of other changes, though. The ship did get wider, etc. So it is a monster ship. It is bigger than an Idris. I can tell you that from a scale perspective. The only ship that it's not longer than is the Javelin and the Kraken. So. Let's go to the next one then. Let me pull that up. The next one, this is one that I thought was interesting to talk because it's already in the game, so I think it's a good one to talk about. Let's talk about.
I'll forgive you for not making it number one.
Yeah,
but that's okay. I'm okay.
Let's talk about the 890 Jump, the Origin Century luxury liner, right? I don't know much about CIG's original plans for like luxury touring and even passenger gameplay. I know a little bit about passenger gameplay from the Starliner and the E1 and stuff, but Griff, you may be more of an expert on this one. Ender, I'm not sure how much you know the backstory of the 890 as well, but I guess what we need to ask ourselves here is there a plan for capital ships of this nature? Capital ships that are pure luxury touring vessels. Is there a future for them in the 1.0 that we saw?
I think so. I don't see why not. I mean, is it exactly what everyone wants to do? Probably not. But I think there's certainly a place for it.
Right. Because I will pull up this real quick. Everyone can see, the Interstellar Transport Guild, which is one of the guilds in 1.0. They do have passenger delivery through Guide Star shuttles. I don't know if that's going to play into this, but I think that's what Ender's alluding to here when we talk about possibly gameplay. So
there's I've always found it interesting that the advocates for what is called touring luxury and those who don't let's just say they don't appreciate the idea. I'll put it that way. And I'm one of those people that does appreciate it because it's a gameplay loop that I have not found in any other game for those who enjoy role play and social dynamics of a game. There are already communities in Star Citizen now that load up their yachts, their 890 jumps, and spend 2, 3, 4 hours hanging out, role playing, getting into battles, all types of stuff that takes place. I'm the purist with ships, so I'm the guy who cringes when somebody puts a tank on top of it and wants to make it a battle tank. So, because for me, it's about the aesthetic. It's about stepping into a world where Richard Tyrer's statement about what is Star Citizen. Is it PvP? Is it PvE? Is it non-combat? And this gives space for those people who may not be into that. But I'm one of those guys. I have an account that has nothing but the luxury ships in it. And I'm also that guy that is in Test Squadron and some other groups. And if my friends want to get from one system to another, and I can say, hey, load up in my 890 and I'll take you there, that's gameplay for me.
Yeah.
That's something I want to be able to do. I want them to go down to the bar and relax before they get ready to go do something. Now, for other people, they have no interest in that, and I can understand it because just like there's certain gameplay loops that I'm not interested in. But there are people who look forward to stepping into this world. In the lore, to your point, Grim, there is lore in the game about locations that if you have certain types of ship or certain levels of credential or whatever citizenship, that you can gain access to those places. They may be gambling casino areas or resorts. Those
Mhm.
were some of the earlier things that they talked about. You better come up in an 890. Don't roll up in your Valkyrie to come in here and try to hang out for the weekend.
Yep.
Right.
So there are some things that they've talked about. Now, whether that comes into fruition is another story, but they have put a lot of work into everything from the Phoenix to the 600 eyes to the 890. So I'm hoping that eventually
Yeah.
that type of gameplay builds out for those who enjoy role play and enjoy just the social dynamic of some place to gather in the game.
Yeah. Well, and thank you, Sub Up, for the follow. Appreciate that. By the way, everyone on YouTube, hopefully there's no lagging going on. I'm not showing any drop frames in OBS. Sorry if there is. Apologies. One thing I'll say is role play definitely is big for some of us. I mean, me and Ender, it's our primary. It's the primary thing we're going to do in this game
Mm,
is role play, actually, no matter what
mm,
gameplay loop we're doing. And,
mhm,
we're the type of people that do backstories for our characters. We have a
Oh
backstory
yeah.
for our org. Our org
Oh,
is
nice.
completely in RP org, in lore, or, type of
Mhm,
org. Thank you, Radar. Appreciate that. Looking at the 890 though, like for example, one time me and Ender were invited. I don't think we could make it though for some reason, but we were actually invited to go on an 890 jump to watch one of the Atmo races.
yeah, we've
Yep.
And
done that.
I forget what was going on. We couldn't do it or whatever, but I was like, still kind of cool. You know what I mean? That there's going to be an 890 that's just for VIPs to like watch
Yeah.
the race from. I
Dude,
thought that was like a cool RP thing.
let me tell you how cool it was because I got invited one year,
Because I knew
and
you would.
there
Yeah.
were 10 of us. There were 10 of us on the yacht, and what was so cool was at nighttime, the pilot inverted the ship upside down so we could sit down and look at the top, and we could see all the vehicles driving
Oh, that's
at
cool.
Oh,
night.
that's so
And
cool.
he rode along with the race while it was going, and everybody enjoyed it. It
That's
was
awesome.
Yeah.
so
That's
cool to
awesome.
Yeah.
do that. So there is an imagination aspect to this, right? I'm
Yeah.
not saying anything against the people who don't have imaginations, but I'm saying there are
So
people who like to step into that world like that, and do something like that.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
knowing what we know about the Genesis Starliner and the E1, then
Mhm. Mhm.
the only thing that the question mark for this ship then is it going to support NPC touring gameplay? And if it does, the ship will need to get updated with things like the drink dispenser, drink mixer thing that we've heard so much about. I'm sure there's going to be a food equivalent of that, and
Mhm.
whatever those gameplay hooks are. We know that there is a 600i internal rework coming at some point whenever CIG does get
Mhm.
back to Origin. I do think it's possible that 890 could get a few touch ups when that happens. Those could be in the
Mhm.
form of materials and other things, but it's been out for a while, this ship. So again, it's
Yeah.
usually CIG does that, and I'm pretty sure the CIG is going to have to go through and bring in some of just the newer, you know, uh, resource management stuff to the ship and all that. When they do that, I think you'll see the 890 glow up again a bit. So
Well, you know what else what I would like to see on top of the luxury passenger gameplay.
mhm.
Mhm.
And it would need to be added in to make it more possible, I guess. You need to see AI crew, or at least AI service crew, not
Yeah.
gunners and things like that, but AI service crew.
Which we
Yeah.
know now is a post 1.0 thing.
Right.
CIG has said that.
Right.
So
Right.
But
Right.
you also need to be able to plan the protection of this,
yep,
Mhm.
these expeditions.
Mhm.
sure.
So yeah, sure, this 890 can protect itself, but come on this long
Actually,
journey of whatever it's doing, it's going to need to be
Actually, you bring up a
protected.
good point. Did the 890 get the point defense cannons added
Yep.
to it? It did.
Yep.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Yep. And they
yes.
and they are pretty good against missiles
Okay.
and torps.
Okay.
They're really actually
Well,
surprisingly good.
that leads us to our next ship, which we're going to move on
Mhm.
to, the
Yeah.
RSI Polaris, the other capital ship in
Mm.
game.
Mhm.
Quick summary on the Polaris. The Polaris was originally concepted to be 155 meters long. It got reconcepted because the ship was slightly too small for its intended gameplay. CIG grew the ship to about 168 meters, give or take. What you are seeing here, by the way, in this orbit is the Invictus flight ready, or the Invictus exterior model. We do not have the current flight ready model in Fleet Viewer yet because we're waiting on StarFab to get updated. The StarFab team is hard at work at that. So what you're seeing here orbiting does not reflect certain changes that CIG made to some of the turrets and stuff like that. So just bear that in mind as you look. But the RSI Polaris is essentially a torpedo fast attack boat. It's supposed to come in fast, launch its barrage, and get out of dodge. In my experience, the ship is not exactly that. You still need to get in. You're going to be in the fight for a bit. It takes a while to launch that barrage, and at least my testing. But I think I think this ship is has been really interesting for CIG to get in the game and look at balance and whatnot. But with the Polaris, a lot of ships are going to kind of get tagged into the same conversation. So ships like the Idris, the Javelin, etc. It's a combat ship, right? And what we're really talking about here when we're looking at this for 1.0 is what does large scale fleet combat or or capital ship combat look like in Star Citizen 1.0 and beyond? I'm going to go ahead and jump in first on this one. And while I think all these combat related ships, both big, small, large, capital, whatever, while I think you'll be able to get into emergent battles anywhere in the verse, whatever you come upon.
Sure.
Ultimately, I see a future where CIG may allow us to somehow enter into instanced combat scenarios where it's one fleet versus another fleet, right? And essentially the way I look at that is think of how World of Warcraft does it, where two players can duel and that one kind of throws the flag down. If the other one agrees, then they fight it out, and it is a PvP battle right there in the open world. You can see it. I could see CIG going that way with large scale fleet stuff. And when I say large scale fleet stuff, I'm talking maybe one group has 20 to 40 of their ships out. Another group has 20 to 40 of their ships out. I think there will be performance issues that could come about with stuff like that, and especially if the ship numbers are even higher. And I think CIG will have to get to a point where these large, big ships that have a lot of crew have a place to play that is sort of not weighed down by the open worldness of the verse, right?
Right.
We heard CIG talk a little bit about instanced fleet combat. I don't have a slide prepared for that, but they did mention that during the CitizenCon 1.0 or the CitizenCon presentation on Star Citizen 1.0. That's how I read it, though, and that's where I see a lot. Again, not that you can't get into random open world scrapes with these ships. You absolutely will, just like you do now, and they'll be able to participate in events and all that stuff. But the big fleet combat, which I think is a big reason why a lot of people bought big capital ships, that future big fleet combat, I think, is going to sit generally in instanced experiences. Citizen Spooner, hope you're well. Salute to you. Really great dude. Hope you're doing good. What do you guys think?
I've come out of Eve.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've always wrestled with is, of course, I love the idea of the fleet combat, but if you're in a Titan, you're the only one in a Titan, right?
Right.
in this game, if you're in your Idris, you may have 15 people, 22 people in that ship with you, and you start exponentially building those numbers. My question has always been, even to your numbers, let's say you've got 40 and 40 ships, that doesn't mean you have 80 people, right?
It's true. Yeah.
That could mean you've got 500 people or 800 people in that count.
Right.
And so I do wonder, if you're in a barren system, if you're someplace fighting over like resources or a moon or something, no big deal. But what happens if you decide to do this over a populated area that already has hundreds, if not thousands, of players, on the surface of a planet or something like that? Is there impact? And I know CIG is breaking up their servers now so that they can have these different things going on dynamically, with like each planet having its own or station. And I get that's how they're going to spread it out. But I'm just very curious as to, as you know, with Eve, we had to do time dilation in order to make it work. And this is a huge hurdle.
Which is something, I can't remember if I heard this from a developer or not, but I was told that CIG did not want to go that direction. I'm
They
not sure
don't.
if you've heard
They
the
don't.
same.
No,
Okay.
you're right.
Yep.
They don't. Yeah, that's my point. That's
Thank
how
you,
they
Vez,
get
for that
around it.
subscription. Appreciate you. Salute.
Spooner, thank you for gifting that subscription.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah, and that
Good Lord.
I'm
yeah,
quick.
and that's how they get around it. So I'm just saying, I am
Thank you,
curious to
Spooner.
see once these big ships come in, how they're going to. I'm sure I know this is what they're working on. I'm just curious to see how they'll do it because it's a lot with these big
Yeah.
ships.
Anything else on the Polaris before we move on? Obviously, there's a lot we don't know about instanced fleet combat. They didn't really talk about that. That was one of the things in the 1.0 presentation that they a little bit kind of glossed over. But what I do think that signaled is that CIG wants there to be kind of a real time kind of feel to combat and all that. So I just can't really see a situation where that's not happening outside of instanced fleet
Right.
battles. And I would apply this same sort of stuff to the Javelin, same sort of stuff to the Idris. And here's the thing, everyone. There's still all those chances for emergent combat, I think, are still going to be there. I think there'll be performance suffering from that. Because, but what I really could see is, for example, if you had an org space station, right? And an enemy fleet comes in, they come in with their javelins and their Idrises and all that good stuff, and they start attacking your base. There may be a point at which they can attack it, but maybe they're able to, maybe it's a comm thing they put out or a beacon or whatever that essentially asks that group, hey, do you want to enter combat, right? Some sort of instance thing. If both sides agree, then there can be wins and losses and things to gain by beating the other player, but it's still limited, and whoever does lose that will get better recovery of some of their stuff. But if you do it more in the open world, the emergent world, just out with it where it's not instanced, it's really you could lose everything. You know what I mean? Sort of deal. Yeah. So I don't know how they're going to balance that. They didn't talk anything about that. It'll be really interesting to see where they go with it. But let's be honest, ships like the Polaris with 28 size 10 torpedoes, they're going to be destined for something bigger than just firing on the random constellation that flies past you.
Right.
So,
right.
And I saw Citizen Spooner chime in a minute ago saying he just was in a battle tonight with a Polaris and a Hammerhead and had a really good time. And I absolutely think that's going to keep happening. You're going to still see that happen.
Oh, sure.
What we're talking about here are those big fleet battles that people always dreamed about, the 40 ships versus 40 ships sort of thing. Sorry, go ahead, Ender.
Radar Echo said, if we're talking instancing, what happens when the battle's over? Do all those wrecks disappear and we get disappointed salvagers?
It's a good question.
I think it's a good question, but I would think more likely, no. I mean, we can't even get a bottle to disappear or
hospital
anything.
Gown. Yeah,
hospital gown. Nothing disappears at the moment. So
yeah,
I would say no. But in the future, who knows?
And if
that's a good question.
And if it's an instance thing and you have 10 ships on this side and 10 ships on this side, and those are essentially a versus list, and that instance thing happens, when the fight's over, whoever's the loser or even the winner, really, CIG or the game system can really just calculate which ships were destroyed and place them out there in the aftermath to be salvaged still. If it's a lot of ships, maybe they just pick a random assortment, and that's what spawns there. Again, it goes against some of the systemic nature that CIG wants, but let's be real. This is a game, and if this thing's ever going to be playable,
gamification is necessary to make it a game.
Exactly. Ender said it perfectly. Sometimes there's a reason certain things need to be game-like because it needs to work. Function. All right, everyone, we're going to move on. Again, we got to keep on trucking. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Here's the next one. I know some people will be excited about this one. Let's go to RSI. Since we were just talking about the Polaris, we are talking about the RSI Orion. What is the RSI Orion? The RSI Orion is a capital mining and refining ship. I think it's primarily supposed to be focused on space-based mining, mining very large asteroids, for example. It cannot land, It's another thing to keep in mind. It is an absolutely massive ship. I forget what the length is on this, but if I remember correctly, it's like 340 something meters.
It's
I
huge.
take that as a caveat, though. The ship will most definitely probably get a reconcepting once again and change again. So, we know that there are guilds in Star System 1.0. Again, one of the guilds, obviously, that this ship is going to be closely connected to is the United Resource Workers, which is all about mining and salvaging and all those industrial stuff. You're probably going to be doing large scale contracts for that guild and using this ship to do it. If you want to build a space station, right, you're going to need to be harvesting a ton of material. Okay. CIG showed that time lapse, and I don't know if you all remember, but it was like, I don't know how many Hull C's had to pull up to that space station supply hub to start feeding the resources. But you're probably going to be able to buy that stuff off the open market. But if you want to harvest it yourself, you're going to be out there in Orion's scraping the verse. Based off what we know about mining now and where we think it might go, do you guys feel like there's any changes needed for the Orion concept as is? I might can jump in first on this one and just say I don't think there's any real changes we need to see for this ship so far, other than possibly a redesign of the exterior to fit a little bit more with the RSI industrial branding that we've seen in the Arastra. I think they may try to blend the two, to be honest with you. However, I hope not too much. I think a lot of people really like the Orion's look. The only thing I will say is we haven't seen mining on this scale, right? And you can compare that to the Hull E or honestly the Pioneer. We haven't seen industry done at a scale of this size yet, and we don't totally know how that is going to play out. The space station brought it a little bit into focus for me. I was like, oh, okay, there's a big goal you need to all be putting in on. And I think that can equally apply to a big base if you're trying to build a big sprawling ground base. Obviously, a lot of stuff needs to go there. But we also know there's going to be contracts and missions and stuff that center around this as well. What do you all think? Think anything needs to change about the Orion for 1.0, or is its concept still kind of intact?
I think the more and more I see it, don't get me wrong, I like the Orion, but when I first saw it, I won't lie, I thought it was a MISC ship. Because it has everything. The spindles on it reminded me of
that's true.
whole series.
Yeah. To me, it looked Drake, but I get where you're saying MISC. Yeah.
It reminded me too much of MISC. They've got to do something about that to give it the design language of RSI. It screams not RSI right now.
No, I did a fan reconcept. Here's the fan reconcept right here, where I brought in parts and pieces from RSI ships to sort of clad it out.
So this helps a little, but I'm not gonna lie, Grim. It's still
those containers still mess with your head. They still think Hull.
Still screams MISC.
Yeah. The spindles are gonna change. Now,
I still think the spindles, something with the spindles has to change.
The only thing is that these are technically different than the MISC ones, where the MISC ones are really just gravity plates on arms.
Right.
This is an actual onboard refinery.
Right.
Yep.
And I know that it is. And in my head, I'm going, all right, this is not what it looks like. But
so for you, it's purely a design stuff, though, but nothing gameplay related. It necessarily
no. It's design. It's design, and I don't know. Something about it could.
I think VG brings up something interesting, though. He says, question, because the Orion is a vast refinery, which it is. It has big refinery on board. Shouldn't it be able to provide refinery support for smaller mining ships? This is something kind of interesting that I think about sometimes with industrial or capital industrial ships. So when I think of the Pioneer, when I think of the Reclaimer, when I think of the Orion, should they have things to help um, smaller industrial ships of the same gameplay loop? Like, should there be some sort of synergy there? Currently, there isn't really, other than sure you could transfer your cargo or something. But I think one of the things that holds that back a lot is the manufacturer stuff. It's not. There's no real way for a Vulture to work with the Reclaimer. But where I think you will
Right.
see some synergy is that some of these ships, don't forget, are getting drone support.
That's it. That's
and
it. Yeah.
and I think we're going to see more of that. I actually, if you had asked me a year ago, I would have said we were going to see less drone support in Star Citizen. But now I'm changing my tune on that with the Pioneer, and it's going to be base building is going to be all built around drones. Ships like the Reclaimer are still owed drones. Remember, the Reclaimer is supposed to have drones. I could see the Orion getting them in some capacity.
Yeah.
Griff, you got anything to add on this one?
Yeah, this is the first, I think, large cap. When I was in Eve, my two big things was salvaging and mining. And when I saw the Orion, I fell in love with it. I love this ship. I love the design. It has grown. If any of you guys, I think, Grim, you probably have some original pictures of what this thing was like. It was much smaller.
Yeah,
it was a lot smaller than what it is. It was a little bit bigger than the Connie or something like that
you
back
can
in the
see
day.
here on this image. You can see it up here. I mean, it is a massive ship. It's probably two Polaris long.
Yeah, it's big, and it is a mining platform. This is a deep space mining operation. You're not hanging out in Stanton using this thing. You're out freaking out in the weeds in the outer rim. And this thing has, as you mentioned, it has drone capability. It also is very well defended. It is no slouch with protecting itself. And the refineries are on board. This is meant to go out for a while, hang out in space, and bring a lot of money back when you get done. This doesn't like go out for a couple hours and go back and forth kind of ship. So for me, it's capital class. It's a mining platform. You've got the Mole and you've got the Arastra and all the other ones if you want to do that lightweight medium stuff. But if you're trying to go out with a team, by the way, the ship also has, I think, 5 or 6 distinct positions in it that aren't in any other ships. You have to measure seismic activity on this thing. There's a whole bunch of operations on this ship that you're going to have people who know what they're doing. Not to mention, navigating this monster through an asteroid field will be God bless the pilot that has to do that. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm looking forward to this level of gameplay. It's not for everybody. This is if you're going all the way out. I mean, if you're hardcore, to me, that's what this ship is.
Here's the great thing about ships like the Orion to me. Let's say you don't own an Orion. Let's say you own a Kraken, or you own a Hull D, right? Which we're going to talk about shortly. Ships like the Orion, and Griff, you kind of said out here, you're going to navigate this thing out for the long haul. You're going to go out to some far-reaching Aaron Halo location. You're going to be mining some big asteroids. You're not going to want to be flying this thing back and forth constantly. So with a capital ship of this size, you're going to see capital and large ships servicing this ship. So you're going to see Hull C's pull up to this. You're going to see Krakens pull up to it. You're going to see Hull D's pull, whatever, and they may be and then maybe offloading salvage, RMC, and construction materials from the Orion to those ships to be taken back to the bases, so that this can still stay out there and keep working. Exactly. As a matter of fact, and Ender knows this because we both watched this YouTube video. It's this great YouTube video, and damn, I keep forgetting the guy's name who did this video on salvaging.
I'm gonna have to find it now.
And the whole video the whole video was centered around having the least amount of downtime and to make the maximum amount of money, right? And that's going to be true here, especially with these big ships with fuel costs and all that. You're going to want their uptime to be maximum. So there's a lot of orgs that in the future probably won't ever want these things to leave the mining location, right? Ultimately. So something to consider. And real quick, everyone, If do not forget the giveaway. We are giving away a Cutter Red Festival starter pack tonight. If you're on Twitch, all you need to do is exclamation ticket or exclamation ticket and then a space max to get in on that drawing. If you are on YouTube, there is a link pinned to the top of chat that takes you to a Starjump Station episode from a couple years ago. All you need to do is leave a comment there. It can be one word, hi, goodbye, hello, whatever. Just leave one comment there. We're going to pull one random comment from the YouTube from that YouTube video, and we're going to pull the Stream Elements winner from the Twitch. We're going to put both of your names and the random wheel of names. We're going to spin it live on air. Whoever wins will win the Cutter Red Festival starter pack. You do need to be watching the stream for that. You can't have gone away because we're going to call out your name. You have to respond, and then we'll get you squared away. Okay, let's keep on moving because we still have more ships to get through here. Next ship on the list. These we probably won't spend a lot of time on because we kind of talked about them a little bit with the Polaris, but we are going to mention them because they're important ships. I'm talking about the Idris and the Javelin. We'll talk about the Javelin in just a second, but with the Idris, we know there are 2 variants and then a kit, making 3 ultimately, the Idris M, the Idris K, and the Idris P. These are combat ships. These are combat-focused ships. Now, one could say that and this wouldn't be an inaccurate statement, one could say that the Idris is a carrier, so it has some flexibility there. I do agree. I still would say that it's primarily a combat-focused carrier, obviously. So are we still all kind of thinking the same thing with these? Obviously, these are the Squadron 42 hero ships, so CIG didn't necessarily envision them to work perfectly for the PU. They're meant to work perfectly for Squadron, and they're going to live in the PU much as the Polaris does, where it's going to be a defense ship ultimately. You're going to defend your stuff with it. You're going to defend your space stations. You're going to defend your bases with it. You're going to defend your fleet operations, your industrial operations. That's what this ship is meant to do. Do you all agree? I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
This is, I would say, one of the longest battles I've had in Star Citizen has been against an Idris. It took us about 5.5 hours to take one of these out one day, and this thing was fighting. I mean, it was kicking our butts. We came out with about 6 retaliators, and we tried every range from 300 meters out to 3,000 meters out to 1,200 meters, 12,000 meters. This thing was taking our torps out. The torps were launching out of our tubes, and it was blasting them right in front of us, damaging us. It took a long time for us to take the thing out. I mean, it was painful, dude. I mean, we went to bed. It was like 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'm going to bed. They told me the next day, 2 hours later, they finally got the thing, and they didn't destroy it. That's when they were able to board it. Was 2 hours after that. So I know that they're testing it, and I get that, but I can't imagine how formidable these ships will be when things like armor and all the other stuff.
They should be. They should be. Yeah.
And the key thing with these combat ships, though, is originally, and we get the Javelin up here now. Originally, I always thought that there was no earn potential on these ships. These ships were essentially money sinks that exist within the verse, but necessary money sinks to protect all of your earners, all of your ships and operations that actually do bring in UEC. These were the things that were actually an albatross or an anchor around an org's neck, but they also protect the org's interests, right?
Yep.
That possibly could change. Again, I'll bring this up here, but we know that now there are going to be these guilds, right, in Star Citizen. 2 combat-related ones, for example, are the Mercenary Guild and the Council, right, which is sort of the criminal guild. We know there are going to be missions generated for combat, which we already knew that a little bit in the PU now, but this obviously is a much bigger deal here through the guilds. And guilds, to work your way up a guild, if you've ever played any game that's got factions like this, you're generally working up. So I would imagine there are capital level combat situations here. So there will probably be ways to earn with these ships ultimately. But still, by and large, I think these are the ships that protect your earners in an org. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that should be considered. That these are not the ships that are going to be bringing in big bucks for you. They're going to be the ships that you sink a lot of big bucks into. Any of you that have used a Polaris and seen how much the size 10 torpedoes are and stuff like that will know that quite well.
Cool.
Anything else on these combat ships? We'll move on. We will move on.
Oh, the Javelin.
Yeah. Now, the Javelin we know is modular.
Yeah, can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
The history on the ship is always kind of weird because remember in the early days there was the whole thing about when you got the ship, it would be stripped down, war surplus, and you'd have to get the weapons and all that stuff. Do you guys? I hope I don't stir the pot when I ask this question. Citizen Con space station.
Yep.
They show the freaking Bengal carrier.
Mm-hmm.
They did not show them building it.
True.
They just showed it departing from it.
True.
How big do you think building will go when it comes to ships? Will it? Because, the earlier days it was maybe you'll find a Bengal, but do you think they're going to allow us to build an Idris, a Polaris, a Javelin, a Bengal? I know that it inferred it because it was at the station, but they didn't show somebody out there with welding tools and stuff. All you saw was the thing docked and it pulled out. So I'm just curious.
So I can give you the information that I've heard.
Okay.
This could change. This could, the person could have been lying to me. But I was told by someone who would know that Idrises and Javelins, 100%, you're going to be able to fabricate them and build them. 100%. 100%.
Okay.
I think, and essentially all player ownable ships you're going to be able to build. When it comes to Bengals, I was heard yes, you're going to be able to fabricate them. And not only are you going to be able to fabricate a Bengal, you'll be able to fabricate other ships as big as a Bengal. That's what I was heard. Okay. Now, we do know there are Bengal variants. We have looked at these before. We've seen them in some of the Squadron 42 stuff. If those of you haven't seen those, I can pull up one now here. You can see the Idris here from the Squadron 42 gameplay. You can see this here is a Bengal variant. If you want to know the actual names of these ships, you can actually tune into some of Paul Shelley's content. Paul has done a lot of the research, and so have some other people, but they know the names of these ships and stuff. One thing I will add, too, is that the Javelin and Idris are still getting a lot of work. You can see right here that this Idris looks very different than the Idris we've all seen. As a matter of fact, the entire exterior is different. It's got completely different engines, all that. And the same is the case with the Javelin. I mean, not only is the Javelin completely changed, all new engines, but even certain major areas have completely changed. But the exteriors, 100% different.
Yeah.
You can also put on that they're all getting major PDCs. As a matter of fact, you can look on these in that Squadron 42 gameplay demo. You'll see PDCs all over the Javelin. Okay, this thing is peppered with them. Okay,
so are we looking at the military versus civilian? Is that what we're looking at for building? Or are you saying that they'll actually allow us to build the actual military versions of it?
We're going to build them, and I think that yes, we're going to build the military versions for sure. We're going to build the versions that are in that Squadron 42 gameplay demo. Those are the versions we're getting. By the way, I think we are going to get a Star Citizen Live or something with John Crew and Ben Curtis. Maybe it's late this year or something. I don't know, but they're going to talk about the changes to the Javelin and Idris, and this actually isn't too big of a surprise because when the Polaris was coming out back at Invictus of last year, I forget which one of them said it, but one of the ship developers made a mention that the detail on the exterior of the Polaris was so awesome.
I remember that too.
That they were going to need to go back and upgrade some older capital ships. Okay.
Right.
What you've seen is that work. And that was what was in that demo. And that's what we're going to see.
Okay.
So that is the Idris and Javelin, again, falling in line with the Polaris combat ships. Hopefully we'll see instance fleet gameplay in the future where the people that wanted those big fleet battles can still live that out. All I'm going to say is when the Javelin is in the PU, there's going to be some epic videos because I don't know if any of you have seen that video of someone low flying a Javelin that they stole.
Yes, it's a microtech. Yeah.
That thing is so insane.
It is.
But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Shout out to Bluesy who says that they only build retributions.
There you go. Hey, Kusanagi, hope you're well, brother. All right, let's keep moving along here to the next one. We talked about the Idris, the Javelin. Here's another interesting ship I want to talk about. We're going to stick with Aegis for a minute. We're going to talk about this ship, the Reclaimer.
I love, yes.
Yes, the Reclaimer. This was a ship I literally had no interest in for the longest time, and then we finally did some co-op salvaging in this monster, and I had some of the best time I ever had.
Yes.
I think it's
Yeah,
probably one of the most fun times we've had for
Yeah.
sure.
it is a
Yes.
capital salvage ship. I know some people debate whether it is a capital. It is essentially a capital ship. It is supposed to be a capital. It's going to get reworked to be a full capital with full capital components. This is the capital salvage ship. Doesn't mean they won't make one bigger one day, but this is the capital ship. It's going to get, I think, more work done to it. Anyone who's flown this ship knows it needs a ton of work. A ton of work. I'll open it up. Does the Reclaimer, we know the Reclaimers received some changes already. Again,
Yes.
for those that don't know, originally, I'll scrub on the video. Originally, the Reclaimer had a big grabby hand claw up front with little laser cutter arms. That has been switched out and changed now to where the essentially has a big disintegrator arm that comes out. So that was the first change the Reclaimer received. It also received a change in the form of salvage processing machines in its salvage processing room to spit out the boxes. Beyond that, what do we think of the Reclaimer? Do we think anything needs to change for 1.0? I do have some ideas on some things I think that we need to change, but I'm going to hand it over to you guys first. What do you think?
Griff, I'll let you go first on this one. I do have a couple ideas myself.
Sure. I'm glad you said that. And, Grim, I appreciate the fact that when you did your video with this, it was the one time I saw someone depict what the ship was supposed to do. I know that there are a lot of people who,
In the Aegis
because
cinematic,
CIG,
right?
yeah, CIG used to, use this word with the muncher, right?
Mhm,
But
mhm.
the claw was never intended as something that would eat ships. It
Right.
was, in your video, it just held a ship in position while lasers sliced it up.
Yep.
I just noticed the other day, and I hadn't flown the Reclaimer in probably 2-3 months, so maybe this was in there already. But did you notice that they put metal grinders at the front of it now?
Yes,
Had you
I
seen
did
that?
notice that. Yep.
Okay, right. So they've got, like, the Vulture has it too, where that door opens up and it's got the grinders. Now you've got the mechanic there where when the parts come in, you've got the grinders that'll bring it to the area where the spinners are, which would eventually take it to the processing room. So I was excited to see that they're starting to put in those elements of showing how materials, instead of the hand wavium, but there is a process now that they're putting of physically bringing parts into the ship and breaking them down. I've been in love with this ship ever since it came out. Yes, it does need a lot of work. We know that the docking collar area is a huge problem in the
Yep.
rear of the ship that CIG says they're going to address, but that's a major shifting in design because of the landing legs and the thrusters that are back there.
Yeah.
Because I would love to be able to dock this ship, and
For
you
those
can't.
of you
know.
unfamiliar with the ship, currently this is the airlock door here in the back. It is non. It is non. It is not the standard docking collar that you need for stations. The standard one is actually a bigger door, so they're going to have to figure out where that docking collar goes. Maybe it's in the same place. I don't know, but they've got to figure out where it goes, and they're going to have to reconfigure interior space to accommodate that.
The other thing I'll say, and I'll let your buddy jump in here, Mr. Ender, the cargo area. I was hoping that they would get that elevator working in the processing room. A lot of people have always said, why do they have that little hole back there? But a lot of people don't know that that's actually an elevator that loads and drops down to the second level. And I just keep hoping, the big pistons are there. You can see how it's supposed to slide back and come down to bring things in. And I think that if that was working, people would feel a little bit better about moving cargo in, because it's kind of funny to watch people throw cargo down the hole and then try to set it up downstairs. I've been on this ship, and I've seen people stack this ship to the brim. I mean, literally up on the balcony level where the catwalks are. I mean, I've seen people. It's unbelievable to watch the excitement that people get with how much money. I think I saw Space Tomato, and they were pulling like $6 million or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
When they loaded up the thing. It was
Me
crazy.
and Ender casually went out one night. Didn't even fill it up. We weren't even close to filling it up. We went out casually and pulled in like $3.5 million.
Yeah.
And we only salvaged for what? Maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe 2 hours at the most.
At most,
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
run it 3 million.
It wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I will say you
wow.
kind of needed 3 to operate the ship
Oh yeah,
For sure.
yeah, yeah.
appropriately for that. And when resource
Yeah.
management and stuff comes along, I'm sure it'll be a little bit more than that. But it required a driver, a disintegrator, and a salvager. You know, kind of needed those 3 people.
I'd say to efficiently run it, you'd need 4.
I say efficiently run it, you need 6 because if something goes wrong, now I
Yeah.
have been on there with
Good
4
argument.
people
Good
before,
argument.
with 4 people, and that thing held up. I literally had time to get back in the chair, fire up the ship, and get away. But
Yeah.
ultimately, if somebody's coming after you, you
gotta
gotta,
get out of there.
yeah, you gotta be ready, you know,
Yeah.
because it's a beast to get ready to turn and get it lined up and get the heck out, you know.
Yeah.
I love that ship. I love it.
There's also interior space here that may be reconfigured for all we know. For example, one of the rooms, and it is a really cool room, you can look through it in a window, but you'll see the grinders in there grinding and spitting stuff out.
Mhm.
But that's not technically how it works now. The stuff is disintegrated exterior of the ship and then grinded up more when it comes in through those new grinders. So that room inside doesn't really have a purpose now. They could reclaim that, no pun intended, and do something with it. I will say this, Ender may agree because we've talked long and hard about this ship in terms of doing machinima with it. It's got one of the coolest interiors ever.
Absolutely.
This ship has got a vibe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's grimy. It's grimy.
Real quick here, I want to pause here, everyone. So we do know the Reclaimer really just needs a lot of bug fixing and polish to the ship. It needs to be brought up to gold standard. I'm going to tell you right now, out of all the ships in Star Citizen currently in the game, this is the one I think needs attention the soonest. And the reason I say that is that this is one of the funnest ships to do multi-crew with currently in the game, in my opinion. Literally, we had a blast in it. And because of that, it needs attention. They need to give this one some attention. We do know they're working on some Aegis stuff, but I think that's mostly focused on Idris and Javelin right now to make sure it's ready for Squadron into PU. But I really don't think it'll be too long before we see the Reclaimer get the love it deserves. I see Tree0311 in chat. Hope you're well, Tree.
Hey, Tree.
Wanted to pause real quick here, everyone. I wanted to bring this up. We talked about at the beginning of the show. Ender, we'll kind of keep this one a quick because we're going to address it again at the end, but I wanted to bring this up for all of our new people watching. Let's talk real quick about St. Jude once again.
Holy cow, St. Jude. Guys, we're doing a huge giveaway April 1st through May 31st. We are doing raffles. We are raising money for St. Jude. Sick kids need to, we got to get rid of cancer for sick kids. And the only way to do it is to help St. Jude. So we have had our community donate a lot of ships. We have a total of, 16? Is that, am I right? 16 raffle prizes?
Yep.
2 RSI Polarici, an Origin 600i Explorer, Anvil Carrack, 3 Misk Fortune, Elgato 15 key Stream Deck, Anvil F7.
And that Stream Deck will come.
Yes,
with a Star Citizen icon pack from Icon Set Aegis.
That is correct. Nomad Lovestruck Starter Pack, Cutter Red Festival Starter Pack, Drake Buccaneer, Anvil Hawk, Anvil Hurricane, Aegis Gladius, all of those ships with LTI and Starjump Challenge coins, and just a whole lot of fun in between. You can donate using our Tiltify link and QR code. And we are going to also be doing things like when you donate, eating some beans with Bean Boozled, eating some hot beans.
Ender has promised to shave his entire body. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
I very well may be shaving my beard.
Yep.
There will be some stretch goals that we are going to be doing, including we'll have to play with things on our hands. We'll be playing games and we'll have to put like items on our hands where we have to play. Hats, it's going to be crazy. There's drinks involved that are just terrible.
Yeah.
That Grim and I are both going to be doing. It's going to be Great.
And all this is going to take place across all of our platforms. So Ender's Twitch, which you can see the address there,
Yes.
my Twitch, is the one you're watching now, and then our YouTube, the Starjump YouTube. You can see
Correct.
content across all of those. Stay tuned to our Twitter. Make sure you follow our Twitter for more news. Again, you won't be able to actually donate via the Tiltify link until April 1st. That's when it can go live. But again, it's going to be 2 solid months full of Starjump content connected to St. Jude. It's going to be awesome. You're still going to get Shipyard. You're still going to get Starjump Station. You're going to get Fleet Builders back. We have new content coming. It's going to be really cool. You're going to watch us play a lot of party games. It's going to be a good time. So
it'll be fun. We're going to play with the community as well.
Yeah.
We are great on donated ships. So if you want to help donate to St. Jude, wait for April 1st. And help that way.
Thanks for all of our donators who will be highlighting in a much more bigger, prominent way as we get closer to the event. Okay, let's continue moving. Again, don't forget to enter the giveaway, everyone. If you're on Twitch, if you're watching on Twitch, you just do !ticket or !ticket space max. This is for a Cutter, Red Festival, Starter Pack. If you're on YouTube, there is a link pinned to the top of the chat for me. That link will take you to one of our other YouTube videos, which was on capital ships from a few years ago. All you got to do is leave a comment there. Hello, goodbye, hi, you're handsome. And leave a comment there. We're going to pull one random comment from the YouTube, and we're going to pull one random winner from the Twitch. We'll take those 2 winners. We'll throw you in the wheel of names. We'll spin it live on air. Whoever gets it will win the ship. Okay, let's continue on down the list. We just talked about the Aegis Reclaimer, the capital salvage ship that will most definitely get a big glow up because it is a key ship in the industrial gameplay loop, and is definitely a capital ship. Some people debate that because it does have a little bit of a component mix, but it is going to get full capital components. All right, let's move next to Grimm's favorite ship, the one and only Drake. Aurora. No, the Drake Kraken. The giant G.I. Joe U.S. flag battleship Yamato aircraft carrier in space. Obviously, this is a very popular ship amongst the backers, for those that own the ship and for those that do not own the ship. It's a very popular ship.
Truth.
Primary goal of this ship is to carry other ships. It's about as simple as that, but it has a secondary role in terms of doing repair, rearm, refuel. I say secondary, though, because we've seen a slight change in how CIG is approaching rearm and refuel and repair. Originally, it was almost sold as if the ship would be able to do it automatically, the same way you do at any landing zone through services. Now CIG sometimes kind of says, well, yes, you can repair the ship while it's there, but manually, just like how you would anyway. So I think it's still up to see what the rearm, repair, and refuel capabilities of the Kraken are. I personally think CIG is going to allow it to do a lot of those things automatically, but it's just something to remember. But primarily, this ship is meant to carry other ships. With that, one of the other things that's been said about the Kraken, it is an extremely long-range ship. Velasoft just subscribed for 2 months in a row. Thank you very much, Velasoft. Giving you the double salute. Appreciate that. But this ship is a long hauler. It also, a lot of people don't realize this, has a pretty massive cargo bay. So it actually could work as, this is one of the few capital ships that's not purely industrial, that is an earner and can kind of pay its own way, so to speak, right? Some people would classify this as a combat-focused ship, again, as a light attack carrier. I actually more classify this ship as a general-purpose capital ship because it really can serve a lot of roles. It can facilitate industrial fleets. It can facilitate combat fleets. It can facilitate just transport needs, right, within a fleet. We do know that the Kraken is going to probably pretty soon become a focus of the ship team. They haven't made it a huge secret that they're all very interested in doing the Kraken. Execute and Algrid themselves spoke with Ben Curtis and John Crew while at CitizenCon, and that was said by Ben Curtis. Very frankly, we want to get on the Kraken. But they need some bigger assets. That's why they're working on the Ironclad first. The Ironclad and the Ironclad Assault are currently in active development. That being said, though, general purpose ship probably is going to be able to fit really easily into a lot of the future Star Citizen 1 gameplay loops because, again, it's general purpose. But what do you guys think of the Kraken? Do you think it needs any changes as we march towards Star Citizen 1.0? And, as this ship goes into its development phase sometime here in the future, do you think CIG needs to consider any changes?
I think I have a question and then I have a statement.
Okay.
Question. There's an internal tram in this, if I remember correctly, right?
There's what's called an air car. Yeah, it's essentially a tram, but it's not. It's just not an enclosed tram. Yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't need any change. Yeah. Then the only thing that I think needs to change, honestly, is the Dragonfly Bay. It just doesn't make any sense to me. The location of it, at a minimum, needs to move.
Yeah.
Its location. I can't reconcile its location making sense.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure exactly when the Dragonfly came out. I'm sure someone in chat could let us know when that ship went for sale. But I have a feeling, back when in 2018, when the Kraken was revealed, there wasn't near as many Drake ships, first off. And I think they were just like, okay, with the few Drake ships we have, let's look for whatever synergy we can give it. You know what I mean? There's a lot more Drake ships now. So, maybe there's new opportunity.
More sense. A Buccaneer Bay makes more sense.
Well, and there's 2 internal hangars on the starboard side, I think, are for the Buccaneers. But I think the cutter, it could definitely be a little cutter bay.
A cutter, cool. Yeah. Or even turn that Dragonfly Bay into a drone repair bay.
That's kind of interesting. A drone room.
It just doesn't make sense to have the Dragonfly Bay.
Mm-hmm. That's the first time I thought about that, Ender. I could actually get behind the Kraken maybe having 2 just repair drones that it can deploy to help repair ships that are on its deck. That could be kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah. Captain Fishstick says making an Atlas Titan Bay gives some utility and defense for the pads. I am staunchly against Titan and Atlas. Look, we have spaceships. A Titan suit is not going to defend against a spaceship. It's just not.
Unless they make it really awesome. Then it will.
It's just not going to do the job.
Something that we do know is, and if you look at the lore of the Atlas, or the Titan suits, I should say, is that they're actually primarily industrial focused.
Right.
They're going to be They're going to be primarily, I think, used for moving very large things, salvage, repair, stuff like that. Yeah. That is not to say there's not going to be combat focused ones. It's spoiler alert, everyone. Spoiler alert. It's been all but said openly that there's, I think, some sort of boss fight in Squadron 42 where the bad guy has a Titan suit. We've seen concept art for it, I think. So keep that in mind. It's very obvious that they could go that way and probably make a crap ton of money. I'm sure they'll do it. But, just something to keep in mind. But again, this is an industrial. This ship can support industrial operations. I could see more native support for Titan suits just to be able to get out on the deck easily via some sort of freight elevator or something, so that they can more,
Absolutely. Now, Rhiannon Shonen asked a question: why is the Dragonfly Bay not desirable? It's not that it's not desirable. For me, at least. It's not that it's not desirable. It's more the location for me. It just doesn't make sense to be so up top.
Yeah.
It would make sense down below.
Yeah.
Because it's popping out the top the way it does. I feel like it would just hit the ground and damage something.
This is a question I do want to ask Gavin soon. Gavin Rothreith, the original designer of the Kraken, we have had him on Starjump Station in the past. If you can, you can go back and find that.
Gavin, if you watch this, I love your work. You know this. I'm not complaining about your work, man. Please don't hate me for disliking the Bay.
John Crew, when they revealed this ship, brought up the fact that it was on the roof like that. And
Yeah.
one thing he
Yeah.
said, but they never expanded on it. John Crew said that it's got a, for those of you worried about how you're going to get in and out, there's a really clever way that Gavin came up with to deploy the dragonflies. The only problem is we haven't seen what that really clever
We
way
haven't
is
seen
yet.
it. And
So I would love to see. Yes, Quinn, I know
Right.
Gavin wasn't the only one on it, but he was sort of the primary concept artist on it. But Paul
Yes.
Jones and many other ship team members were on the Kraken for sure. When I say he was the concept artist on it, I just mean the primary
True.
lead concept
Yeah.
artist.
True.
He's also developed a lot of other ships, Gladius and a whole bunch of them. But regardless, I would love to find out from Gavin what that mechanism is. So we'll see. Maybe that's a question we can ask him. Griff, you got anything to add on the Kraken? Oh, go ahead, Ender.
Go ahead, Griff. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a ship that's always for me. I don't own this ship. I admire the people who have the kahunas to want to take this monster on because this is a big ship. It is
It's a
a
big
big
one.
ship. The scale of this thing is unbelievable. The other thing that always blew my mind was one of the concept art. Some of you guys will remember back in the day, there was a quote unquote Kraken at Hurston.
There was.
It was sitting out there, and from the distance, it was a monster then. And then in the concept art, there are a couple of shots with this thing on planetary surface, and you see vehicles and people outside, and you realize the scale of this thing is ridiculous. I mean, it's really, really big.
Yeah.
And so I always say, man, who the heck is going to crew this thing? It's a monster. But I think it's a great concept. Now, I want to take a sidetrack here and talk about
And
your
those of you that
depiction
want
of
to
the
see
ship.
it, here is the Kraken on Hurston. This was during a sitcom presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's my point. You mentioned about it being support industrial and a general purpose ship. But the lore of this is Drake that says we're making the everyman ship or the every person ship. But then there's also the darker lore of the ship of piracy.
Don't come here with your propaganda, Griff. Okay, we
piracy,
all know
right?
Drake is on the up and up.
So they're on the up and up. Of course they are. And so I've always thought that the one thing cool about this ship is, and I agree with you, Ender, about the location of that where they put the dragonfly thing. But I also saw the ship as being, it could deploy anything, whether it's a bike, a vehicle, or ships. And so I would love to see it come out like what you were saying. If it came out from a lower bay or something like that, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Because if there's any type of ground force, the people, and CIG has shown this in their videos before, where people use bikes to attack a base or an outpost, then I think this ship from a distance could land and provide that type of thing. But it also could do, flying ships and everything else too.
To give everyone a little bit of a primer on that too, in terms of coming out of the bottom of the ship, there is a giant elevator on the bottom of the ship from the cargo bay. I've measured it as best I can to give you an idea of the size of the elevator. The elevator can hold 4 Nova tanks at one time, so it's big. It's a big elevator.
Big. Yeah, that's really big. Yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah.
So every time this thing is on the hologram at IAE, I go and look at it, and the scale of it is just ridiculous. This thing's got what, 5 or 6 decks to it. I mean, it's huge.
270.
Yeah, it's not small.
Yeah, 270 meters long. So it's a very big ship. Surprisingly, not the biggest capital. Obviously, we've got the hull D, hull E, and Orion and Javelin, but still a monster ship. It's about a good 35-ish meters longer than the Idris. So keep that in mind. And did we lose Griff's?
Did you?
We may
Maybe
have lost
you did.
you may have lost
Oh
your video.
no!
That's okay.
No.
If you can get her back
Lost
running,
this
great.
video
If
at
not, we'll keep your name up
You
regardless.
still have your audio.
You have my audio? Okay,
Yes.
then maybe
Yeah.
the video will come up. But let me throw this plug in while I'm figuring out what's wrong.
Yep.
The plug is, if you guys have not seen Starjump's
there you are.
video on the Kraken, if you have not seen Starjump's video on the Kraken, you need to
There
see
it is.
it. I think that video expands our minds as to the possibilities of this ship, because obviously CIG's commercial came out from it from a combat position, but you showed this thing being a mobile platform for mining, for reconnaissance. It was a bunch of things.
Yep.
So if you guys have not watched the Kraken video, please watch it, because there's got to be at least 8, 9, 10 configurations you did for this thing, which I thought opened up and showed the possibilities of what this ship can be. I know it's easy to automatically think aircraft carrier, but boy, oh boy, you're limiting the possibilities of what you can do with a ship like this.
Yeah.
Especially for the cost. If you think this is just an aircraft carrier, it's overpriced. But if you look at the stuff that they say you can do, then you can say, okay, I get it.
If you ever want to think outside the box and learn how to think outside the box about any specific ship, have a conversation with Grim about how to use a ship for any number of purposes. He thinks outside of the box for every ship.
I do think a lot about ships. That much I can say.
I know you do.
Too much about ships.
It's why the idea for fleet builders popped up in the first place, because he has so many outside of the box ideas for how to use a ship.
Yep.
So yeah, it's for sure. Before I forget, VG asked, couldn't the Dragonfly Bay be repurposed as an extra small vehicle bay for, say, the Dragonfly, the Pulse, Atlas, and others? I don't see why it couldn't.
I mean, we already know with the next ship we're going to talk about, the Privateer, we already know that it can be converted to other rooms. I honestly think they should just make it a modular room. Maybe Dragonfly is the default for the base Kraken, but then maybe make it modular. Maybe you can do expanded, medical suite in there, whatever the case may be. But I would love for them to go that route. It's not an insignificant amount of space that the Dragonfly Bay takes up. It's just one of those things, like if you don't own a Dragonfly, it's completely wasted. You know what I mean? Although I do say, CIG, if you're watching, you do need to give everyone who owns a Kraken a free Dragonfly. That needs to happen. I'm just saying, come on now, at least one Dragonfly. To keep this moving, everybody, we're going to talk about the next ship real quick. Actually, the next two ships kind of fall in line together, but we'll talk about them both. They are both very different, but they play in the same playground, and that is the Kraken Privateer and the Banu Merchantman. Both of these ships, we're going to talk about the Privateer first, but both of these ships are marketplace ships. Now, there's important caveat to that. They are NPC-driven marketplace ships, meaning NPC characters have stores on the ships and will sell their wares through there. You will get a part of that profit. You do have to keep the stores restocked and all that. You're going to be able to hire certain level NPCs that have certain skills and stuff like that. And there's different types of shops and all that kind of stuff. This is very different than what some players want, which is to sell your own goods using the whole maglock system that CIG showed, which you're going to be able to do from any ship anywhere. It's not that these ships won't support that in some way. Maybe CIG can build in like some empty storefronts that you can utilize. But regardless, the Privateer and the Banu Merchantman are very interesting in that they're the only two ships currently spec'd for having NPC marketplace gameplay. We haven't heard anything about that since the last time CIG showed us concepting for the Merchantman, which was a few years back when Paul Jones was still there. They did talk a little bit about marketplace gameplay at that time. We didn't hear anything about it in the 1.0 presentation. What we did hear about, though, when they were doing their base building talk, was the ability for us to sell our own stuff using the maglock feature and all that kind of stuff to sell our own wares. They talked about crafting, obviously, where we're going to be able to craft unique things to sell. So this is what I pose to both of you. Do you think these ships need any changes beyond NPC marketplace gameplay? Do you think they need to make these ships where they can either do that or fully support player-driven marketplace gameplay?
I think they need to be able to do both.
Yeah.
I think that you need to be able to choose. If a human wants to be able to run a store in your shop, you need to be able to dismiss an NPC, and it needs to be able to unpack. You have to land, right?
Yep.
Or select a location. and remove them. Oh, 0 rating with a party
Sending
of
the
270.
Yeah, sending the
Nice.
Kraken overhead with the big raid. Thank you, Zero. Appreciate that. Rating with
Welcome,
270 people.
Raiders.
You know, Zero, that's amazing because we were just talking about this monster, the Drake Kraken and Kraken Privateer, and it is 270 meters long, and you just rated with
And we just came
270
in with
viewers.
270 people.
Ooh, a sign.
Look
So-
at that.
so
Sign.
very
That's
well
perfect.
timed.
Perfect.
very, very well
Hashtag
timed, Zero.
perfection.
Zero, I hope you're well. I hope you had a great stream. Obviously, someone who has been a Starjump supporter from the early days. We definitely appreciate you. Hope you had a great stream. Thank you very much. For those of you that have just come in, real quick couple of announcements. We are doing a giveaway for a Cutter Red Festival starter pack. To enter that, and thank you for the follows, by the way. To enter that, if you're on Twitch, all you got to do is hit exclamation ticket or exclamation ticket, then a space, max, and you'll get your tickets for that. If you're on YouTube, don't forget you can go to the link pinned to the top of the chat, leave a comment on that video. That's one of our past Starjump Station videos. Leave a comment there. We will draw a random comment and we'll from the YouTube, and we'll take the winner from the Twitch, and we'll put you in a random wheel of names. We're going to spin it. Whoever wins gets the Red Festival Cutter starter pack. It's a Drake ship. It's the best manufacturer. I've said it enough this episode. It's the best manufacturer. Okay. Continuing
Second
along.
best.
Zero, thank you very much, man. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
for those
you, everyone.
also for those just joining, we're going to talk more about this at the end of the show. We'll go over it again, but definitely
for sure.
want to stick around. We will talk more about our St. Jude stuff coming up at the for April and May. We got a absolute
16
ton
ships.
of raffle prizes
Amazing.
coming down the pipe for those 2 months. We got 2 Polaris Corvettes, 600i, Carrack, Fortunes, Super Hornets, Buccaneers. We got all kinds of stuff. We got stream decks we're giving away. It's going to be an absolutely banger April and May. Honestly, it's all for raising money for sick kids and their families and helping them out through what's got to be an absolute nightmare. So more information's coming. You're going to be able to catch that on all of our channels: Ender's Twitch, my Twitch, our YouTube. Lots of stuff coming for that. Okay, lots of great prizes. It's going to be a blast. Hopefully you all stick around. Thanks for hanging out with us. We are going over capital ships right now. We're looking at capital ships in terms of Star Citizen 1.0 gameplay. Do some of these ships need to be updated to accommodate Star Citizen 1.0 gameplay now that we know what the vision is? Griff, I interrupted you. You were talking about marketplace game.
Nope, that was me.
Oh,
No, that was Ender.
Sorry, go ahead.
Ender. Mm-hmm.
Ouch. Grim
I know, sorry.
did it to me.
Here, let me
No, I'm
pull
just
that
kidding.
knife from your back.
But yeah, I think maybe it should require you to have to land at a landing zone, but select an NPC, tell them to leave, and then
Mhm.
you know your human seller can then take over from there.
Yep.
Or even maybe your NPC can fly off. I don't know how it could work, but I think you should be able to choose and have the option to have both, because a human's not always going to be on there, but
Yep.
having the ability to have one or the other is important, I think.
Yeah.
Anything
I
from you,
wonder-
Griff, want to add?
My questions and concerns have to do with security measures for ships like this. These are
Mhm.
basically mobile department stores. I'm going back old school when I say department stores. But the fact is that people know that the purpose of these ships are mostly for market and wares, selling things.
Yep.
And so what are the protections internally? I know in the earlier lore for the merchantman, for example, there were things like the room where you could go to negotiate and make deals and things like that. They've got display rooms. I know they've got the maglock system that they've talked about, but then there's still these rooms where there's ship stores where things are stored and set aside for purchasing and buying.
Mhm.
And so I wonder what will be when I come onto your privateer or when I come onto your Banu merchantman. Am I scoping the place out to see, is there a way that we could do a heist here in some form?
Oh, that
or
would
is
be
it
cool.
secured in such a way that it's going to be very difficult for me to do that?
Right.
If I know there's a shopkeeper that's an NPC, is there a way to go out? Like right now, I can jump over his counter and go in the back. Can I do that on these ships, or are there measures to prevent that? So I'm really curious as to how items will be. And I know that we could put things in inventory and do a hand wavium over them, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for what will be good gameplay mechanics that say, you know, once you open your doors of the ship to invite people in at a settlement or at someone's org, you know, what protections do you have to put in place, or what protections will the ship allow you to have? Sometimes it may need hacking, other things may be needed. I'm just curious as to what will be the things that, because
Sure.
these ships are not going to be just you pull up to them and break into them. You know, if I capture your merchantman in space, it should be formidable to get into that. I'm not
Oh
talking just
yeah.
from a sense of weapons and guns, but this should be like a Fort Knox. You know, how
Yep.
the heck do you
Yeah.
get into this thing and steal stuff off of it? It's a valuable ship carrying valuable exotics and
Yeah.
oddities. You know, I'm curious to see what will be the layout for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Rough Gaming Com, for that
Definitely going
subscription.
to be
Really
fun.
appreciate it. Salute to you. Thank
Mhm.
you very much. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these ships. I mean, one thing we have to realize, you know, the Polaris just got some major buffs to its protection stuff, primarily against ramming by really tiny ships. But something CIG has said multiple times too is that in the future, their aim is to make capital ships a serious threat. Like
Right.
you are not going to be able to just take them down with a couple
Mhm.
of your friends. They are going to be a prolonged battle that you're going to have to pull out all the stops. And if that capital ship has enough crew on it to be repairing as things are damaged, it's not just about how many hit points it has. It's about how fast things can get repaired versus how much the ship's getting damaged. When we see resource management gameplay coming on, we may see ships that become unkillable with a
Right.
good crew on board, right?
Right.
And
Right.
factor that with a lot of these capital ships getting point defense cannons,
Hmm.
you know, capital level shields, and all the protection that goes in with that.
Yeah.
These are going to be serious things, and that is why it's kind of not surprising that the two big marketplace ships are capital ships that will
Hmm.
come with that level of security guarantee, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah. All right, we're going to keep moving. Again, we still have quite a few more ships to get through. I'm going to combine the next two ships into one category here. We're moving on to Misk. And again, everyone, thank you for the subscriptions. Devilus and Ferk 8. God, my eyes are so bad. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Really appreciate all the
It's
support, everyone.
actually rough gaming gifted those 2 subs. So
Oh,
thank you,
okay.
Rough
Rough
Gaming,
Gaming.
for gifting 2 subs.
Thank you, Ender. I appreciate that. I missed that call out.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Appreciate that. Um,
Grim, you got to get some glasses, brother. I
I
know
know.
they
It's getting
don't
old.
help your aesthetic,
Do
but
you see this gray? Yeah,
oh, I
I got all
see
kinds of
it.
problems.
Been seeing it.
Moving
Yeah.
on to the next ship, we're bringing up the Misk Hull E and Hull D. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say there's some of you in chat that will say that the Hull C is a capital ship. There's a few reasons I did not include it here. I personally don't look at it as a capital ship. I look at it as a large ship. Again, there's some reasons for that related to size and components and stuff like that. But what we're focused on for capital level cargo gameplay is the Hull E and the Hull D. Now, two things to note here. The Hull C has 4,608 SCU of cargo, if I believe I'm right on that. It's around that. The Hull D is a pretty big jump up from that. The Hull D is
Yep.
something like 20,000 SCU of cargo, and the Hull E goes up even way more in 98,000 SCU of cargo. Think about that, okay? That's an incredible amount of cargo, right?
Hmm.
We have not seen cargo gameplay on that scale in Star Citizen. We have not seen that at all. We don't even truly know what that is going to be like, what that amount of cargo in one go is even going to be needed for. I suspect fueling things like supply bays and space stations and all that. But we also know those ships are incredibly, going back to what you were just talking about, Griff, these ships are going to be massive liabilities because of the way they carry their cargo. So you're talking when an org moves something with a D or E, people are coming out that night. You're going to have people flying their combat ships as protection, the whole deal. We know kind of what CIG is doing with cargo right now. We know the bigger plans with sorry everyone, I'm grabbing my dog. We know the kind of the current plans with bases and space stations and the guilds and Star Citizen, particularly the Interstellar Transport Guild, and how you're going to earn your way up to that. But so cargo gameplay is kind of what it is. It's moving stuff from place to place. The only real thing I think that possibly could affect the idea of these ships is the scale of the verse. Originally, going way back, CIG talked about 100 systems. We now know Star System 1.0 is going to have a lot more detail, so they're focusing on 5 systems. There'll be more after that, but let's just talk about the 5.
Real quick, Grim.
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. You spoke of picking up a dog,
Yes.
but you're not showing anybody this dog.
Right here. Here's the dog, everyone. She is a puppy, and she's tired. She's down here and not upstairs because she hasn't been behaving. But that's okay. She's going to sit here with me as we talk capital ships.
Give the audience what they want, Grim. For God's
Give 'em.
sake.
We need. Her name is Callie. She's 1 year old. We need to have a Callie emote. I'll get to work on that immediately. I'm gonna hand it over to you guys. Do we see any changes needed with the hull E and hull D besides exterior concept changes, which we know will occur with these 2 ships? But by and large, it's going to be an upscaled hull C. But what do you guys think?
I think the main changes that we need to see with these is just something that will load them faster. And I know that's an odd statement coming from especially me, but I liked a question that someone, North End, actually, Trooper, asked. Will they build cartridges, multiple 32 SEU size containers that will speed up the loading and unload of the whole E?
Well, we need bigger
I
containers.
like the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need bigger containers. I mean, 32 is the biggest now because those service the whole sea, but I wouldn't. And so I forget how much it is. If VMXEO is watching, I'm not sure if he is. Me and him did this math. I forget how many. I forget how many 32 SCU containers.
3,073.
So that's how many it would fit on here. Okay, so they're not going to do that. I think the whole C. I think the whole C carries 128 32 SCU containers. I think that's about a max amount of entities CIG wants to do. So what you could do is take 98,000, divide that by 128, and you know that gives you what size containers they're probably going to come up with. They're probably going to come up with containers that are like 500 SCU containers. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
25 says Charlie McAwesome, and you are McAwesome for doing that math for us.
Thank you very much. So there's no way they're going to have 28 or 2,875 containers on a ship. It's too many entities. It'll destroy the servers. So what you have to kind of do is look at how many entities they put on the whole C. It's 128 boxes essentially. If you take the whole E's 98,000 SCU of cargo, divide that by 128 times, that gives you probably where the cargo containers are going to grow.
768.
768. So there probably will be cargo containers that might be 800 SCU cargo containers. You know, then with that, because there's no way on a whole E you're going to be wanting to load 32 SCU containers. You'll be loading for, you know, till Ender's
like real life, several days. Yeah, several days of loading.
Yeah.
The only other change I could think about when it comes to these ships, though, is the way cargo is loaded and offloaded of ships. Ender, you kind of alluded to this, but CIG does have a solution for this. I'm going to bring it up, and we've seen it more and more in Star Citizen videos, ship trailers, and we saw it most recently during the sitcom presentation. I'm going to bring that up here. This is the supply bay that Griffin mentioned earlier. And if I zoom in here, you will notice that CIG is moving to these sort of things on both the supply bay, and I think we're going to see these come to space stations. Their exterior cargo grav plating that is essentially like a magazine, like you would see for a gun. They're a magazine that holds containers. You load it up, that pulls it in. Doors close, they get processed, doors open, the plating comes back out, and you're loading them again directly onto it. Town Scott, thank you for that subscription. Appreciate you. So I think it's going to come down to redesigns like this. And this, again, goes right into what you were saying, Ender. We need faster ways to load and offload these ships. This is one of those solutions. Now, with this solution, if you look at some of the gameplay trailers and the sitcom thing, offloading platforms or grav plating like this, attached to stations and the supply band stuff, ultimately allows the tractor beams that are on ships to function, right? Because if you look at the hull E and D, you'll see the tractor beam mounts. Actually, I may not have them on here because this is the hollow model, but on the hull C, you can definitely see the hull C has, I think it's 4 tractor beams, 2 at the front, top and bottom, and 2 at the rear, top and bottom. Those tractor beams always seem oddly placed to a lot of people. The reason they're there is because those are the tractor beams that you're going to just take boxes literally off the ship and put on those magazine holders on supply base. So gives you a little bit of idea how the whole series is going to work in the future. But by and large, cargo hauling is cargo hauling. We see how that works now. And really, the only thing that needs to change is we need to see improvements to offloading, onloading, and all that kind of stuff, and the facilities to help with that, right? And we're seeing that a little bit with some of those magazines that they're showing. Anything else on this ship?
Question to you guys.
Yeah.
Ever since these ships came out, there was the common conversation is vulnerability, and we're going to be stealing the containers off of it.
Yep.
And I've never felt that that's the case. One of the reasons why is because the lore says that the Hull C is the premier cargo transport ship in the universe. And if people are losing cargo on them all the time, that would be contrary to why they would make that ship the ship that moves cargo more than anything. So my question becomes, what is the security aspects? MISC ships are supposed to be designed to take a punishment. They're designed with their whole thing of the Xi'an technology, the armor, all that other good stuff. So if they pick MISC because of that, but yet the cargo container is so fragile and vulnerable, it seems like a contradiction to me. I'm curious as to ideas that you think, because first of all, if you want to take a hull D or a hull E, if you're smart, it's not about shooting it, it's about taking the ship, because you don't have enough stuff to offload and take that stuff anywhere. 90 something thousand SCU of stuff. What are you going to put it in? You got to take the ship to take it somewhere. And if I'm smart, I'm going to put all my valuable stuff on the bottom so that you got to cut through a whole bunch of scrap and iron before you get to my valuable stuff.
Well,
so I'm kind of curious as to why is there this feeling of such vulnerability for a series of 5 ships that are out there, and what do you think are the possibilities they can do to make sure these ships are secure? If you're taking them over is one thing. If you're going to pirate it and steal it, I get that. But
thank you, bro.
People think just because it's on the outside, they automatically assume there's all this vulnerability.
I can speak for the D and E pretty easily on that. The whole C, I think you start to go into slightly different territory. But with the D and E, ultimately, and this is the case for all the ships we're talking about, the D and E, you have capital shields protecting you. Yeah. And while they may not fully, I think they do cover the cargo on the spindles, right? Am I right on that?
They did at one point, that's what I'm wondering, if that's a testing thing. Because to me, if you're taking these ships out anyway, you got escorts. You're not if you take these ships out by yourself.
So even if they don't cover the cargo, regardless, the ship is still protected by capital components. This ship does need to keep moving, in my opinion. It needs to always be moving to sort of stay protected.
Yes.
This ship is, in my opinion, as vulnerable as any other capital ship in the future when it comes to getting snared or whatever, although that goes into a different thing where I will say that I do think capital ships need to not be able to be snared by mantises. It needs to be capital level quantum dampeners and snares and shit. So
if a mantis could snare a capital ship, it would be insane.
Yeah. So ultimately, though, I think these ships, the protection with them, I think, is going to be in their value, right? An org is not going to risk moving a hull E, especially fully laden with cargo, with no protection. You're just not going to do it. You're just absolutely not going to do it. It would be insane. You're not going to invest all that money and then not pull several million UEC aside for protection. It's just not going to be the case. So I think, what that does lend into, though, and this is something we haven't really talked about this episode, we probably should have, is future org tools and organization tools. And I mean those differently. Org tools in terms of the group you're running with, but organization tools in terms of better ways to organize your crew, hire protection, pay protection via escrow systems, be able to put out distress beacons that only your org mates can see, for example, or people in your party, especially org people, though. As you're moving these ships that are more and more vulnerable and more value, we need the tools to be able to alert people in our org and organize people within our org to run with us on this. We need good ways of paying people for helping us. And one of the best things I think there is we need to be able to essentially make our own missions via beacon that go along with our ship. They can be filtered based on reputation and all that stuff. And when you accept that mission, the money comes out of my account, whatever money I listed that the mission would pay out. That money comes out of my account, it gets put in escrow, and when you complete the mission, it pays out. Some sort of system like that we need.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that's good. I like that.
Okay. Getting pretty late here. We're going to keep moving. Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Real quick, on the flip side of what Drazen just said, it would have to be a really organized pirate syndicate who would have the logistical capability to truly pull off a heist. So complex to actually take over one of those.
That's a great point. And let's say
that's how it should be.
And let's say the goal is not to going back to the cargo container size. Let's say this ship does get 600, 700, 800 SCU cargo containers, which again I think it's going to need to do to be able to keep its entity count down. You're like you said, Griff, you're not going to be able to make off with the boxes in smaller ships. You're either going to need to have another hull E, or you got to steal the ship, right? Which is a whole other thing. And if I'm an org, especially an org with enough money to operate a hull E and all that money and all the money and the boxes on it, if it's about to get taken over, I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking for Ender here, but I feel like I know Ender. I'd scuttle the ship. If it's a clear cut that we're going to lose it, I'm hitting that delete.
I can't have it. Nobody.
Isn't it? But doesn't it make sense just to scuttle the ship?
Yeah, I'm hitting that backspace button. Is what I'm saying.
But at the same time,
so I don't know.
You're not scuttling the ship fully. You're not going to destroy everything. Your pirate still wins at that point.
True. No, you're right. They're still winning. And there would still be stuff left over to salvage and to pick up from cargo. So they're still winning technically, but I would go kicking and screaming.
I mean, push them to shove for me. I'll go back and blow my quantum drives out. I'll just blow everything out. Seriously, I mean, the ship's dead at that point. So the amount of time it's going to take for them to offload it and everything, I might get some backup coming by that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If it comes down to that, that's what I'll do, as last effort.
Yeah. All right, we're staying with Misk here. We're going to move right along to a ship that I do consider a capital ship, and that is the Odyssey. I actually consider this that and the Reclaimer is sort of being the smallest of the capitals. The Odyssey, I believe, is 140 or 150 meters long. Correct me, Chad, if I'm off on that. The Odyssey, I'm pretty sure I heard will be getting capital components. It is an exploration / survey ship, I guess is the category it would fall into. It does have onboard refinery for its own fuel, not for others' fuel, but for its own fuel. It has the ability to mine resources, refine that, and essentially pump it right into the engines. It's an interesting ship. It's our only exploration focused capital, I guess I would say, in that its primary job is to survey. I know we have Execute in chat. I'm sure Execute would agree with that. But do you guys agree with that? That's what the ship's role is? It is primarily for surveying planets, looking for future places to build bases or mining bases or home bases or whatever you want to do.
It's your precursor to bringing in an Odyssey and a mining operation. So it kind of does that exploration to
Right.
bring in that mining operation.
Right. Or you'd send this out to find a good place for your pioneer to show up at or something like that. Yeah. I don't think there's much in the Star System 1.0 thing that really gives us any clues into any changes that would need to occur with this ship. This is actually kind of one of the newer concept ships, so it's kind of built, I think, with a lot of the stuff in mind that CIG had been thinking about for 1.0. I think the
Hmm.
biggest thing we still need to learn more about from CIG when it comes to this ship, and I'm sure you two would agree, is scanning gameplay, what that's looking like. I did hear some scanning stuff is coming to 4.1, but scanning gameplay, but more importantly, scanning for planetary resources, right?
Yeah.
How does that work? Because that's going to be a UI system and stuff we do not currently in the game. How does that whole system work? And is the Odyssey currently set up for that? Now, that's generally just done with scanners. It's not like a mechanized salvage arm has to come out. So since it's done primarily through scanners, that's easy to adapt to however scanning and resource finding and surveying will sort of
Right.
come to fruition. So I don't think there's too many concerns there, but yeah, I can't think of anything that on this ship that would really need to be rethought. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, no, I don't think anything needs to be rethought on this.
There is one thing.
What do you think?
Let's hear it.
I was slightly disappointed that the what's the ship called? What's the flying wing thing?
Reliant.
The Reliant
The
Sin.
Reliant.
The Reliant Sin could not fit into the bay. I
Uh,
felt with this being an explorer with science or whatever, that would have been the perfect ship to put in here to do reconnaissance, go down to planetaries while this was in orbit, do this little science stuff, bring it back to this ship. It's just barely
see
too
that.
short. The hangar is for it, but that would have been
I
a
can see
perfect
that.
partnership for this for me,
yeah.
being an explorer.
But
Go ahead.
now, correct me if I'm wrong, though. The refinery on this, I mean, it's pretty much made for the prospector to ride with this thing and
Or
mine
the
quantum.
hangar, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but this thing mines quantanium, right, for its fuel,
Right. Okay.
right? Which to me says it's intended to be out in space and be fairly self-sufficient.
That's
Other than
true. That's
stopping to
true.
get food and water or whatever you need to get every once in a while. But
So it
fuel
doesn't
is
need
one
a
of those things you don't have
prospector.
to worry about, right? Even though I've heard people talk about the prospector, but the idea is that it can harvest its own fuel, which is interesting. Um, it, the problem is when they showed the gray box for this, they walked us through it. We saw a lot of cool stuff, but
Saw a
the
lot of the
science
interior.
exploration side of it wasn't there. We still don't know what a freaking scanning panel looks like for ships that are dedicated toward exploration
Right.
and stuff,
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, right now, this is just a more maxier version of the Starlancer Max.
yeah,
Technically.
The Starlights are more max. Yeah.
Yeah. I have bought some ships based off scanning gameplay and the importance of that. For example, I got the Cutter Scout out of all the other cutters because I liked its ability to kind of go out and do that. I know a lot of people like the Terrapin because of that. CIG did do that ISC about scanning, and they went in pretty in depth on it. And this was a couple years ago, and it looked awesome.
Yep.
But we have not seen any of that come in the game yet.
Yeah.
The reason I think that is happening, I could be wrong on that. I am speculating with this. I feel like that's happening because scanning is kind of tied to resource management. There's some like hooks there. I think they kind of have. I think both of them kind of hook into to one another, and because of that, scanning is sort of being developed alongside of and slightly trailing resource management. As we know, a lot of resource management was pretty far along already. They decided to hold it back from 4.1 or 4.0. But again, speculating, but that's where I think scanning is. I think they're still working on it, obviously, but I think it just had hooks into resource management and with emissions and power levels and all that stuff, and that's why we haven't seen it yet. So
To your point, surface scanning is something that we have
we
not
haven't seen anything
for
of.
those opportunities for when
Yeah.
you want to go somewhere. Does this thing go out, as you mentioned, and scan a moon or a planet, and
Yeah.
it gets some type of heat map showing what's
Does
in
it
an
right?
area?
Does it do it in Atmo? Does
Um,
it do it from orbit?
e- exactly,
The only
exactly. Which I
thing,
hope it does.
yeah,
Hmm.
the only thing we have seen is at this year's CitizenCon, they did go, or last year's, they did go over Planet Tech V5, and
Hmm.
they finally
Yeah.
talked about resources and
Right,
stuff. So,
right.
I think, uh, I know a lot of people want the Odyssey soon. If
Hmm.
CIG is holding off for surveying gameplay, I think you have a little bit of a wait because it would probably need to come around the time Planet Tech V5 comes. If CIG is okay treating this as just kind of a general purpose ship, which they could because this ship could kind of do the general purpose role a little bit and do some mining, they still could release it. So this one, you never know. You could still see it
Hmm.
sometime before you're dead. Who knows? Um, we're gonna move. I had to throw a little
Well
shade.
said,
A
Grim.
lot of people
Well
say a lot
said.
of people say a white
Hence,
knight. I had to throw a
hence
little
his
shade.
name.
Sorry.
Hence his name,
Yeah,
Grim.
yeah.
Right?
The grim assessment. All right, let's move on to our final ship of the night. I want to keep moving here. The final ship. This is the big one. This is the one I talked about a week or two ago on Starjump Shipyard. We're
The
talking
last one to
about
ever come out.
maybe, yeah. We're talking about the Endeavor, right? Very let's go over the Endeavor. The Endeavor is a heavy science ship, with some other side categories it can dip into. It is a modular ship. It has multiple parts and pieces, multiple modules. It's extremely complicated. It's also an extremely old concept ship, very old. It's not to metric anymore. It's currently listed at 200 meters, which is not the metric. They're going to have to upscale this thing a bit. And the different modules will allow it to play into a lot of different categories. For example, there's going to be, some of the versions they listed off was a discovery class, which will be even more focused on heavy science, or like very heavy science focused with research and bays and or modules and all that kind of stuff. There is, of course, the Hope version, which is situated around medical gameplay, also includes a hangar for medical ships to come and drop patients off here and there. It's got an entire hospital on it. There is a farming variant in the Olympic class. I'm sure this will also translate into some sort of like animal herding, raising sort of thing as well. But again, dipping into farming gameplay. There is the particle super collider version of the Endeavor module set that will allow us to. I think they said. What was it, tune up things, but essentially
Hmm.
what I think this is going to be for tuning up or upscale or pushing your blueprints up to higher tiers. You're going to be able to craft higher and
Hmm.
higher tier stuff.
Yep.
There's also the telescope module. This is going to allow for what I think will be system wide scanning. So I think, and again, I do think the design of this is going to change. This is how it looks in the current concepting. I see this being able to hopefully scan an entire system for resources.
Mm.
So again, a lot of different versions of the Endeavor here. But the important thing to state with this one is it's an extremely old concept. It was developed way before the 1.0 game plan was figured out. A lot's
Hmm.
going to have to change here. Um, I'll go ahead and start this one off with my thoughts, which are they've got to sell the modules they've sold because they've already sold them, right?
Hmm.
Of which
Hmm.
there are a lot of modules. So that's going to happen. So all those modules that they've talked about in the past, we're going to see those. You can see those here in this image. They're going to
Hmm.
sell all these. Okay. They have to. They've already sold them. So they're going to make them. But I do see these modules still being changed, right? So, for example, the telescope module may end up being just a very high tech scanning module. It may not look anything like their concepts for the telescope array. Um, I could see things like the fuel pod getting expanded to not only be just extra fuel, but maybe also have fuel scoops and other things to collect gases. I think they're going to try to figure out ways to bring this stuff into the modern Star Citizen era, so to speak. I
Hmm.
also think we're guaranteed to get more modules. one of the modules I promise you they're going to come out with, and this is going back to something you said earlier, Ender, about the Orion. They're going to come out with a module for this thing that is cargo arrays, cargo spindles. I promise you.
Yeah.
And this thing will be able to carry cargo on spindles. So I really think the reconcepting we're going to see on the Endeavor is going to be on par with the Pioneer. It's going to be a complete from the ground up rework of the ship. The only issue with that, though, is they've sold the modules, so they still are kind of tied to certain things. So I'm gonna hand it over to you guys. What do you guys think of the Endeavor? And what do you think? Because there's so much that possibly needs to change with this ship. What do you think is maybe the top thing you think needs to be addressed with this ship going into Star Citizen 1.0? Who wants to go first?
It's not the ship that something needs to be addressed with, in my opinion. And your Grim's eyes are going to roll heavily, I think, when when I say this. It's medical. The medical system needs to be addressed for this ship to have the medical module to make sense. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense to me.
And especially a medical module capable of handling so many patients. Like, what is that gameplay where you're handling, 30 patients at once?
Well,
dealing with
that makes sense. You know what I mean? Having 50 patient beds makes sense, but having let's say 20 tier 1, 10 tier 2, and 20 tier 3 math doesn't make sense. The various tier beds in a single location does not make sense to me. So that's, to me, that makes no sense. And having the ability to land a ship, a medical ambulance on a medical ship makes no sense. So,
well, unless it's delivering patients, but I guess with how medical currently works, the idea is that you just respawn.
What's the point of having a patient if you can just respawn?
And you do start to wonder, like,
you get answers,
right?
It just makes no sense.
Yeah, and I think what's going to be important there is seeing what the punishment is with death of a spaceman. Like, what happens when respawning that is so bad that you don't want to respawn, that you do want the ambulance to pick you up, you do want to be taken back to the hospital and get brought up to speed, and other more advanced stuff like cybernetics and stuff like that, which CIG has hinted at before. Okay, so medical focus you think needs to shift, and that's not a bad point, Ender, because I will say the Hope class of the Endeavor is probably, from what I hear, one of the more popular module configurations that has been purchased by players. But Griff, what do you think? Or go ahead, Ender.
It also needs to look less like a penis.
Well, so says you, Ender.
A lot less.
I do think it will take design cues from the Starfarer. See, Ender's gonna have to. I'm gonna have to send him a bar of soap because he's not gonna be able to do St. Jude like this. He comes on to my shows talking like a sailor, but St. Jude he's not gonna be able to do this, and I'm gonna go on his shows and start bombing. Okay. Anyway, I will say that this. I personally think this ship is going to get redesigned very much in the vein of the Star Lancer. But Griff, what is your thinking?
Where do you think Star Lancer or Odyssey?
Yeah,
I think Star Lancer.
I think Odyssey. Yeah. That's my thing. I love the new design that CIG has moved to with MISC in relation to the hull A. And I think that the Odyssey pushes that a little bit more. So I do hope that there's going to be a more modernized design, interior and exterior wise. So I agree with you there, Ender. This is an interesting ship to me because it falls into the same category for me to a certain degree as when we talked about the 890 and what is luxury. There are so many elements to this gameplay that are not fleshed out yet. The farming dynamic is not fleshed out. What is science? What is research?
Yeah.
What is using the telescope? You know, I mean, there's so many things and those are the other issues of why this is one of the people believe it's going to take a while because those game mechanics have not been fleshed out yet. We don't have tier zero of any of them. But as you mentioned, we've got these hints toward it. Obviously, with fauna coming into the game, transporting animals in the biodomes would be something, but we haven't gotten to the point of growing things yet. Or are we growing things that only in certain circumstances you can grow them under certain controlled conditions that
Yeah.
you can't do on a planet? So there's a lot of stuff that they can flesh out when it comes to this ship. You mentioned about the tuning of items that we purchase with blueprints. Maybe I can craft something at my little manufacturing place, but if you really want to get this thing bumped up, you've got to go to someone who has a ship like this to be able to do some other stuff to whatever it is you had that's crafted.
Mhm.
And then what does crafting look like on a ship like this versus the Pioneer? You know, what is the distinction between the two? Um, the fact that this also has this disconnecting capability for the Explorer cab.
Yeah.
You know, what does that purpose Explorer cab mean? You know, is it because the upper part stays in orbit and synchronous orbit and I can go down with this ship? Or, you know, there's so many questions that have to be fleshed out for this ship.
Mhm.
I'm excited for it. This is one of the ones I did bite the bullet on and say I'm going for it with the master set. But it's also the ship that I put in the back of my head and don't even think about
Mhm.
because there's so many of these other elements for this ship that have to be built. If you read the design specs on this ship, this thing actually says that these ships are built to take a meteor shower. I
Yeah.
mean, the MISC
Yeah.
thing is, you know, something that, you know, obviously because armor's not in, we don't think about it. But, you know, again, these ships are not pinatas. They're built to, as you mentioned earlier, capital class to take a lot of punishment, whether it's because of natural phenomenon or whether it's because someone is attacking it.
Mhm.
I'm really curious to see what's going to happen. What happens with this when I want to swap out the modules? Is it going to be just go up to the kiosk and push a button, or is it going to be that I'm going to have to dry dock this thing?
Yeah.
I wrestled with the simulation gameplay. I think you said this earlier, Ender, about gamifying things. You know,
Mhm.
there's a bunch of folks in our community that want simulation, but they only want simulation in their particular area of
Mhm.
gameplay, right?
Sure.
But you know, if I grow my food in 30 minutes, that's not simulation. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
don't want to wait
Right.
on my food to grow. So you know, you can't have simulation in one area, but then the other areas are gamified. You've got to find that middle ground that makes people feel like what they do with their time is meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
And that's a fine line. It's
Everything,
difficult to
yeah.
find that line.
yep.
Especially with a ship like this. You
Oh,
know,
friendly and
Yeah.
Greeks, friendly and geeks just rated with 17 viewers. Thank you very much. Appreciate
yeah,
that, friendly. Salute to you.
yeah.
Thanks for sending your
Woohoo.
community over here to hang out with us for a bit. We're talking capital ships, getting close to wrapping up our conversations, but it's been a great talk. But thank you for
Yeah,
coming on over. Hope you had a great stream.
yeah, yeah.
Joel said future space fertilizer grows carrots in 30 minutes.
There you
I,
go.
I'll say this. I'll say this. Um, I think well, first off, CIG has come out and said that this ship will not be done for 1.0. It's going to be a post 1.0 ship, which is probably smart.
Absolutely.
That's
It's
fair.
going to
Yeah.
allow all the gameplay systems that this is going to tie into. So, crafting
Mm-hmm.
and research, blueprint
Right.
research, which I guarantee you crafting will be part of this ship. I can tell you now there's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
fabrication module for this ship.
Mm-hmm.
But all that, fabricating, crafting, blueprint, research, all that stuff. But not only that,
Mm-hmm.
scanning, farming, animal raising, however that's going to be,
Yeah.
medical gameplay. Once all those
Yeah.
gameplay systems mature, I think that's going to redefine what this ship is, how it's
Yep.
built, how it functions. Um,
Yep.
one thing I will say though is it's very possible the disconnecting nature of the ship goes away completely. For example, while it's not a
Mm.
capital ship, one of the ships that will also go under a heavy redesign would be the Anvil Crucible. I can
Mm.
promise you, if you're a Crucible owner down in chat and you are excited because the Crucible has the ability to fly in both directions, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I guarantee you CIG scraps that because it's kind of the one-off ship that does that they have to sort of build a unique flight model around, right? I think we're going to see and we're seeing that with some of these ships that we're going to always like transform like the Pioneer. Now the Pioneer doesn't. I think CIG is starting to take a look at these larger, more complicated ships and bring it back down to reality. right? And do something that can actually be made, right? Because some of these ships were getting pretty crazy complicated. Going back to the Crucible
Mhm.
again, it's cool that it can fly in both directions, but it doesn't need to perform its gameplay role. Same thing with the Endeavor. There's a lot of ships that can't land surface side. Okay, the Orion, the whole, the Javelin, etc. And I think maybe the whole series of the whole E. I can't remember. Either
Mhm.
way, regardless, there's ships that can't land planet side. They may just make that with the Endeavor and totally do away with the Explorer cab. It's very possible. I really think everything's on the table for the Endeavor. Again, if you want to watch a really in-depth Endeavor breakdown, go watch my Starjump station or Starjump shipyard episode on the Endeavor that's on our YouTube
Mhm.
channel. I really break it down. I went deep on it. I went back and read
Yes, he
every
does.
bit
Yep.
of
It's a great
anything that was
video.
written on this ship. This ship was designed at a time before John Crew was there, before Paul Jones was there, and Paul Jones isn't at CIG anymore, anyways. But even before he had started there, before Ben Curtis, all those guys. This is an
Mhm.
ancient concept. So it's going to change. It may change in ways that I do think the ship's going to grow, to be fair, but it also may change
Mhm.
in ways that it doesn't have to grow as big as we think. They may change the way
Mhm.
the modules go on it. You know what I mean? Maybe the modules don't all just fit on the side. Maybe some of them fit above and below and here and there, and they're able to consolidate space in interesting ways. Either way,
Exactly.
out of all the ships we've talked about tonight, this is the one that will get the biggest rewrite, the biggest reconcepting. Cal Doom, thank you very much for that subscription. Appreciate that. Salute to you. The same could definitely be said, and I've seen it a few times in chat. People bring up the Genesis Starliner, the Crucible, ships like that. Absolutely agree with you. Those ships are going to get massively reworked for Star System 1.0 as well, and the gameplay loops. But those are large
Mhm.
ships, and that's why we didn't focus on them here. We'll probably do a future episode where we focus on large ships. Salty Life, appreciate that follow and sending the javelin overhead. All right, we went through a bunch of ships here. That was great. That was a good long talk.
Grim, if you don't
So
mind me asking,
yes.
what is the maximum length on this ship when it has whatever the largest module is in it? What's how long?
So
Because this is a pretty big ship.
currently concepted, the maximum length on it is the length of the main superstructure, which is 200 meters, which is obviously going to grow.
I think it's going to grow.
It's
It
going to grow.
has to grow.
But I've heard
Yeah.
Gotta
people
grow.
say it's going to grow to 1,000 meters to 500 meters. I personally see the ship growing because I've done a bunch of my own measurements and stuff. I see honestly the ship growing to around 300 to 350 meters long. Senator, thanks for that 5 month in a row subscription.
Mhm.
So I see it growing to probably like Orion length, somewhere around there. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
And it's already in danger of being the ship that kind of does everything. So I see
Mhm.
CIG paring some of that down. They had to
Mhm.
do the opposite thing with the Pioneer, where it kind of did one thing and then they changed that. So they changed that one thing massively on how it was going to work from a gameplay loop perspective. So they were like, okay, we need to add some stuff now. With the Endeavor, I think it's going to be the opposite way. It does everything now, so they need to make the ship simpler. It'll still do all those things, but they're going to have to make it
Mhm.
functionally simpler. You know what I mean?
Right.
Reprobated Gamer, thank you very much for that follow. Everyone, let's go ahead and do some end of wrap up messaging as while I get ready to end the giveaway. Ender, I want to have you, let me get back to it here. I want to have you once again roll through the St. Jude stuff coming up in April, May while I prep the
Here we go.
giveaway, please, sir.
April 1st through May 31st, we are going to be doing fundraising for St. Jude. St. Jude Play Live. Now, officially, Play Live starts on May 1st, but every year for the last 2 years, we have always started on April 1st because we can. So, April 1st through May 31st, we are fundraising for St. Jude. This year, we have had our community donate an amazing 16 ships for raffles. So here are the ships. We have 2 RSI Polarises, an Origin 600i, an Anvil Carrack, 3 Misk Fortunes, Anvil F7M, Nomad Lovestruck Starter Pack, Cutter Red Festival Starter Pack, Drake Buccaneer, Anvil Hawk, Anvil Hurricane, Aegis Gladius Valiant, Elle got a 15 key Stream Deck, Starjump challenge coins, all those ships with LTI and more. You can find us on my Twitch at Twitch TV Starjump Ender. Grim's where you're at right now, Twitch TV Starjump_Grim. Mine is Starjump_Ender. And YouTube, if you're already here, youtube.com at Starjump_Grim. We are really, really, really good already on giveaways. We do not need any more items for giveaways. So if you want to help us with our St. Jude Play Live push, rather than donate ships, hold off. On April 1st, we will have a Tiltify link or QR code. Take that money, give it to St. Jude, donate through the Tiltify link. Now, that Tiltify link, it goes nowhere near our hands. That only goes to St. Jude. The only way to enter to win one of these amazing ships, the only way to enter these raffles is to donate to St. Jude. Yeah. We are not giving these away for any money to us. We are not taking money. We don't want money. We want this to go to sick kids, guys. Yeah. This goes to help make sure no family has to pay a dime to make sure their child is taken care of during one of the most horrific moments of a child's life. And those families don't have to do a thing. They don't have to lift a finger. On the 15th of April, I am actually flying to Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to spend 3 days in Memphis, Tennessee at St. Jude on the campuses. I'm going to try to stream from there, but if I'm not able to work out streaming from there, I'm going to take a hell of a lot of video and pictures, and we are going to spend time there, hopefully with some of the kids, but definitely with the St. Jude teams, doctors on the campus, doing tours, helping out every way we can, and just having a blast. So
it's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
Very excited for it. Again, everyone, in terms of which raffles are running at any given time, because there's going to be some points where there's multiple raffles running at the same exact time. We'll have more information on that very, very soon, especially as we get closer to April. But to give you an idea, there'll be one Polaris given away, for example, in April, one for May. They're all, everything's staggered. You'll see how it works. But that Tiltify link and the QR codes on all of our streams is going to make it super easy. It's all going to make sense when we get there. We're getting very close. The other thing I'll add to it is that if you're a fan of Starjump Fleet Viewer and you've always wanted a custom livery, there will be some opportunities, figuring out how it's going to work, but there will be some opportunities to win a custom livery in Starjump Fleet Viewer for yourself. You get to name the ship, pick the colors, all that kind of good stuff. All right. Let's get to the next thing here. Stand by, everybody. I am going to bring a couple things over. First thing we're going to bring... go ahead, Ender.
Sorry, go ahead. While you're doing that, I just wanted to do two things. Answer a question from North End. No, I'm not going to be able to hand out challenge coins to the kids, only because I don't have any. And because I don't know the rules on that. And second, I forgot to mention, in the last couple of years, we have raised 16,000. Oh, I got to bring up the number. I apologize. Send it to Grim a minute. $16,443. This year's goal is to reach 25,000. Oh yeah, thank you.
That's amazing. That is so cool.
So hopefully this year we reach 25,000. That's $8,557. That's our goal this year. Yeah. So,
Ender, I'm sure if you do the hot tub challenge, you'll hit it. I guarantee you. Just do the hot tub challenge and you'll hit it.
The beard is in danger again this year.
Oh boy.
The beard is in danger. My wife won't let me shave my head this year, but the beard is certainly in danger this year. So,
all right, everybody, we are going to do this contest here. This is for the cutter. Red Festival starter pack, really cool ship. You do have to be watching right now to win, obviously. And when you do choose, we're gonna, or when you, if you do win, excuse me, we're gonna look for your name. You do need to reply to us in chat. We'll give you a minute or two to reply, but you do need to reply so that we can put your name on the wheel of names. Okay, if you're on YouTube, I am going to vet you if you win, just FYI. And you do, I do need to see you chime in on YouTube, and I'm going to need to match the name to the name that is on the comment. Okay, so remember that. Okay, here we go. We're going to end the Stream Elements one. So if you're on Twitch, this one's about to end. I'm giving you about 10 more seconds. Go ahead and do your exclamation ticket now if you want. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're ending it, closing the giveaway. Good luck, everyone. We got quite a few, 90 entrants on that. Okay, drawing a winner. Good luck to everyone. I hope, and remember, if you win here, that just gets your name on the wheel of names, okay? You're going to have to battle it out over the YouTube winner on who gets the ship. So here we go. We're drawing a winner now, and oh my gosh, it's Starjump Ender. He gamed the system. We're going to draw another winner. Oh my God. Rigged.
How in the hell?
Look at this. I think that's probably the first thing Ender has ever won.
The first thing I win is the.
We're going to draw. We'll draw another winner. Don't worry.
Draw a different name, please.
We'll draw a different name. Here we go. Here we go. We're drawing another name. Sleep Walker.
Or Walker. Sleep Waker?
Yeah, I'm going Sleep Waker.
Sleep Waker.
Yeah,
wow. Congrats.
Sleep, are you?
Where are they?
There he is. All right, there's Sleep.
Yeah,
okay.
Sleep.
Yeah, baby.
Bring the animated
Sleep. If you end up winning, I'm going to contact you through Twitch. Okay, I will DM you or whisper you on Twitch. Okay, and get your information, and we'll regroup there. Okay, so I've added your name to the name, the wheel of names. Congratulations, Ender. That is brutal.
Brutal.
All right, everyone. Over on the YouTube side, get it done now. You got just a few more seconds left too. We are using the random comment picker from YouTube or from Comment Shark for YouTube. We have chosen the video here. I have entered the date for today's date, 9 p.m. Eastern, which is when this stream started because you had that entire time to enter in a comment. Those are the only comments this random comment picker is going to choose from, are comments left from 9 p.m. onward on this. So good luck, everyone. And remember, if you're on YouTube, I do need to see you respond. Okay, do need to see you respond. Okay, here we go. Picking a random comment now.
There we go.
Focus at Focus. Focus, please chime in if you are on the YouTube.
See the chat. Focus.
Say it's
Still
me
nothing?
so I can grab you.
Still nothing.
Congrats, by the way, to everyone. There's Focus
Hey,
right
look.
there.
Hello.
There we go. There
Awesome,
we go.
awesome. Stand by. Okay, pulling something up for Focus. Okay, Focus. I do.
Congrats, Focus.
Got you. Okay, I'm going to add you to the wheel of names here. Everyone, I am one-handing this because I got the dog in the other hand. Okay, here we go. Focus. All right, here we go. We're going to spin the wheel. I got I'm going with Walker. Sleepwalker and Focus here on the wheel of names. We're going to hit it to go. Sleepwalker, if you win, I'll contact you through Twitch. Focus, if you win, very important, you need to DM me and friend me on Discord. Okay, you need to go get to the Starjump Discord, which I believe we have a exclamation Discord, right, Ender? Do we? Ender, help me set all this up. I don't know. I'm an idiot. Thank you, Ender. You need to go there. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. You need to follow them rules. Ender's a militant about it, but it's for very good reason. He keeps our Discord safe. Big thanks to Ender on that, by the way. That's a hard job. Really appreciate all the work that Ender does in keeping the Starjump Discord safe. But you're going to need to go to Discord. You're going to need to friend me or just DM me, and I'll connect with you there, Focus, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Here we go. Spinning the wheel of names. Feel like Vanna White. Here we go. And boom.
Yep. Stayed in the
Okay,
red.
it's
There we
focus. It's
go.
focus. Okay, cool. There
Focus.
we go, Focus. Congratulations, Focus. You will want to reach out to me through
Yes.
Discord again. You will want to DM me, and I'll get you squared away for that Cutter Red Festival starter pack. Sleepwalker. I'm going to still whisper you on Twitch. I may have
Mhm,
something I
mhm.
can send your way as sort of a runner-up sort of prize. So I'll get with you on that. Again, congrats everyone. Matter of fact, hold on one second, everybody. All right, Sleepwaker, I'm whispering you now. I'm just saying hi for the moment, but I'll get you squared away with a little runner-up prize. But
Nice.
congrats on that. Congrats everyone for entering the contest. Thank you, Ender, for doing the show with me as always. Love
Of
your
course.
insights. And of course, last but not least, Griff, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. It was absolutely awesome to have you
Enjoy.
on. I've been personally
Enjoy.
wanting to have you
Always
on
a pleasure.
forever. Me and Ender
Yeah,
constantly talked about. We're like, when are we getting the solstices on?
constantly.
We're gonna get the solstices on. And we keep saying it, and our
When we
laziness in
getting
terms of
Griff? When we
getting
getting Griff?
organized is what's prevented it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so
We got to
again,
figure out a way to drag both of you guys over with us because I only always get one or the other. So you guys, I got to
Yes.
get both of you guys over together. That's the thing we got to work
yeah.
on.
Exactly.
That's
So
cool.
it was again a pleasure having you. You're absolutely amazing. We appreciate
Yes.
you and all that stuff. Everyone, I am going to send you over, and I would hope that you stick on just for a minute. I want to send you over to someone who is doing some stuff that will help Starjump with a little bit of St. Jude. I've been working with him on it. I've rated him before, but he does a lot of stuff for different Star Citizen groups and communities. I'm going to send you over to, if it comes up, I'm going to send you over to Angry PC Tech. Please give him some Star Jump love. He's a great dude. He is making the Star Jump Challenge coins and the patches, and
Oh,
I do
nice.
plan on having some of those for St. Jude. He usually has his stream running and he's printing stuff, but give him a follow, give him a little bit of
Hmm?
that love. I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
Grim.
Everyone,
Oh,
yes,
there he is.
Oh,
what's that?
You cut out for
yeah.
a second.
We
Oh,
You're
lost
okay.
you
okay.
for a
Sorry.
second.
I'm back. All right. All right, everyone. As Ender always says, I've stole this line from him. I think it's a good one. As Ender always says, do something kind for a stranger. Have a good night, Griff.